The courtroom was packed. Journalists hunched over their laptops, typing furiously to capture every moment. Lawyers whispered to one another, some flipping through stacks of documents, others nervously checking their phones. And at the center of it all sat Elon Musk, his signature smirk barely noticeable, his posture confident as ever. But today wasn't about his usual bravado, not about his ventures in space, electric cars, or artificial intelligence. Today, it was about something completely different. His very future was at stake. The room fell silent as the judge entered. Judge Helena Marshall, a woman known for her sharp intellect and even sharper tongue, took her seat. She was no stranger to high-profile cases, but this one was different. It had Elon Musk, a man who had defied the odds, revolutionized multiple industries, and pushed boundaries in ways no one had ever imagined. She had no respect for him or his methods. To her, Musk was a billionaire with too many ideas and not enough accountability. As she looked at the man in the front row, her lips curled into a slight smirk. "Mr. Musk," she began, her voice cutting through the tension in the room. "I trust you're prepared for the mess you've gotten yourself into?" Her words dripped with sarcasm, the kind that stung. Elon's gaze didn't waver. "I'm always prepared, Your Honor," he replied with a calmness that belied the chaos of the situation. Judge Marshall raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Is that so? I have to say, I find it amusing that a man who can launch rockets to Mars can't seem to keep his business dealings out of the courtroom." The chuckles from the opposing lawyers and a few members of the audience didn't escape her notice. Elon didn't respond. He had learned long ago that engaging with those who sought to undermine him often only fueled their fire. Instead, he focused on what he knew best, solutions. But as the proceedings began, it was clear this was not going to be a typical legal battle. The stakes were high, and Musk's opponents were coming for him with everything they had. The lawsuit he faced wasn't just about business. It was personal. A rival company, once a partner, had turned against him in an attempt to destroy his reputation and undermine everything he had built. And now, Elon Musk was sitting in a courtroom, accused of everything from fraud to negligence. His enemies had come prepared, and they were going for the jugular. But one thing they didn't know was that they had underestimated him in a way that could cost them everything. A sudden shift in the atmosphere occurred as Musk's lawyer, a sharp and calculating man named David Simmons, stood to present their defense. "Your Honor," Simmons began, addressing the judge with respectful firmness, "we're here today because a rival company, fueled by envy and desperation, is attempting to manipulate the legal system to settle personal scores. They want to destroy my client's life and reputation." Judge Marshall's lips twitched, clearly enjoying the verbal sparring. "I see," she said, tapping her gavel lightly. "But you must understand, Mr. Simmons, that your client's reputation is already under intense scrutiny. This isn't just a simple business dispute." The lawyer remained unfazed. "Your Honor, it's not just a dispute. It's a smear campaign, a premeditated effort to tarnish the name of one of the most innovative minds of our time." The judge's eyes locked onto Musk, her gaze piercing. "Innovative, yes, but also reckless, it seems." She turned back to the defense. "I've seen the reports, the damages, and the accusations. Mr. Musk's actions have consequences, and those consequences extend beyond mere business losses. They affect real people. Is that innovation, or is it irresponsibility?" Elon remained silent, but inside, a storm was brewing. He had faced greater challenges than this: failure, ridicule, bankruptcy, all before he had made his mark in the world. But this courtroom, with its cold, unforgiving air, was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It was a place where every move mattered, where every word was dissected, and where the stakes weren't just about money. They were about legacy. As the judge continued her tirade, mocking his every step and decision, Musk felt a fire ignite within him. This wasn't just a legal battle. It was a battle for his very essence. The world had never understood him, and now, even the legal system was trying to break him down. But Elon Musk was not the type to be easily broken. If anything, moments like this only fueled his determination. He knew how to think outside the box, to look for solutions where others saw only walls. And in that moment, as he listened to the judge's mocking words, a plan began to form. Something big was coming, a move no one, especially not Judge Marshall, would ever expect. The courtroom buzzed as the opening statements continued, but Musk's mind was already racing ahead. The lawyer for the opposing side was speaking now, their words a blur to him as he plotted his next move. Elon had always been a master of surprises, a man whose ability to think on his feet had helped him overcome impossible odds. And today, it was no different. The judge had mocked him, underestimated him. But by the time this was over, she wouldn't be laughing. This is just the beginning, Elon thought, a small, knowing smile playing at the corner of his lips. The real battle hasn't even started yet. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk's life wasn't always filled with the high-flying successes we see today. In fact, for much of his early years, it seemed like he was destined to fail. His story wasn't one of privilege or instant glory. It was a tale of relentless perseverance through adversity, where every step forward was often met with a setback. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971, Elon's childhood was anything but easy. His parents, May and Errol, were intelligent and accomplished, but their marriage was rocky, marked by tension and emotional turmoil. Elon's father, Errol, was a brilliant but difficult man, whose success was overshadowed by his volatile nature. Elon's relationship with him was strained, to say the least. His mother, May, was a dietitian, a model, and an author, a woman of immense talent, yet also someone who faced her own personal challenges. From a young age, Elon was known to be a bit of an outsider. He was bullied in school, often because he was quiet, introspective, and incredibly smart. His classmates would taunt him for being different, for burying his nose in books, and for having an unyielding drive to understand the world in a way that no one else could. But this didn't break him. Instead, it fueled him. He immersed himself in science fiction, reading stories of space travel, technology, and adventure. Those stories sparked something inside him, a burning desire to create, to innovate, to change the world. But even his brilliance couldn't shield him from the harsh reality of growing up in an unstable environment. At age 17, after his parents' divorce, Elon made the life-changing decision to move to Canada, then to the United States, where he enrolled at Queen's University in Ontario before transferring to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. The journey was not without its hardships. Elon had very little money, and for a time, he struggled to pay rent and even afford food. At one point, he and his brother Kimball lived in a small, run-down apartment and survived on what little they had. But Elon's ambitions were never deterred. During his time at Penn, Elon's focus was laser-sharp. He studied economics and physics, two fields that would lay the foundation for his future endeavors. While most of his peers partied and socialized, Elon spent countless hours in the library, working on his ideas. He had no interest in the conventional path to success. No, for Elon, it was always about changing the world, and that meant thinking bigger than anyone else. After graduating from the University of Pennsylvania in 1995, Elon decided to forego the traditional route of getting a job. Instead, he founded Zip2, a software company that helped newspapers get online. It was a modest beginning, but one that taught Elon valuable lessons about business, technology, and, most importantly, resilience. Zip2 was sold to Compaq for nearly $300 million in 1999, and Elon found himself with a windfall that would change his life. But instead of using the money to retire or live comfortably, he took a bold step. He invested it all into his next venture, X.com, an online payment company that would eventually become PayPal. It was during this time that Elon truly began to clash with traditional business leaders, people who didn't understand his relentless drive, his impatience for progress, or his vision of a future far beyond what anyone else could see. His co-founders at X.com didn't share his ambition, and tensions ran high. They eventually ousted him from the company, and Elon was left to pick up the pieces of yet another failure. But instead of walking away, he doubled down. He took the experience in stride and sold his shares in PayPal for $165 million, using the money to fund his next big adventure. With his newfound wealth, Elon went on to create the companies we now know as Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company. He poured his heart and soul into these ventures, often working 100-hour weeks, pushing himself to the brink of exhaustion. But even with all the progress, he faced challenges at every turn. Tesla's early days were rocky, with production delays, financial strain, and skepticism from critics. SpaceX was no different, with multiple failed rocket launches threatening to bankrupt the company. But despite the setbacks, Elon never gave up. He had learned long ago that failure wasn't the end. It was simply a lesson to be learned, a hurdle to overcome. For Musk, success wasn't defined by how many times you fell, but by how many times you got back up. Now, as he sat in the courtroom facing a legal battle that threatened to undo everything he had worked for, Elon Musk knew one thing for certain. This was just another challenge to overcome. The judge, the lawyers, the media, they were all playing a part in a story that had only just begun. In the past, he had stared down impossible odds. This time would be no different. But Elon wasn't just fighting for his businesses, his billions, or his reputation. He was fighting for the future, for the dream of a world where humanity reached for the stars, where electric cars became the norm, where AI and technology created a better tomorrow. And he wasn't about to let anyone, especially a judge, stand in his way. As the courtroom drama unfolded before him, Musk's mind was already turning, already thinking about what came next. He was about to prove, once again, that the greatest battles were often fought not in boardrooms or laboratories, but in the face of doubt, ridicule, and mockery. And he was ready. The case against Elon Musk was gaining national attention. As news outlets and social media platforms exploded with coverage, the courtroom became the center of an intense legal and media frenzy. For Musk, this was just another battle in a long series of challenges, but for his opponents, it was their moment to strike. The rival company that had filed the lawsuit, Promethean Industries, was a direct competitor to Tesla, particularly in the electric vehicle market. For years, they had been watching Musk's meteoric rise with a mixture of envy and frustration. Promethean CEO, Charles Mitchell, was an ambitious and cutthroat businessman who had never been shy about his disdain for Musk's unconventional methods. Unlike Musk, Mitchell believed in playing by the established rules of business, and he had spent the last several years building up a reputation for aggressive takeovers and ruthless legal tactics. When Promethean's legal team filed the lawsuit, they aimed not only to dismantle Tesla's reputation but to tie Musk up in court for years, draining his resources and energy. The charges against Musk were serious: accusations of fraud, misleading investors, and failing to meet production goals. But the most damaging accusation was that Musk had deliberately inflated the capabilities of Tesla's vehicles, misleading the public and investors about the company's true potential. As the case progressed, the media pounced on every development. Headlines blared with sensationalist accusations, and Musk found himself under a microscope like never before. The usual scrutiny he faced from critics and investors paled in comparison to the barrage of negative press now. It seemed like the world had turned against him, and for the first time in years, Elon couldn't shake the feeling that he was being cornered. Behind closed doors, Musk's legal team worked tirelessly to craft a defense. They knew they had to counteract the media onslaught, but more importantly, they needed to outsmart Promethean's ruthless legal team. David Simmons, Musk's lead attorney, was a seasoned litigator who had fought and won many battles, but even he knew that this case would be different. The stakes were higher, the pressure was intense, and Musk's reputation was hanging in the balance. One evening, as Musk sat in his office at Tesla headquarters, reviewing legal documents, his phone rang. It was Simmons. "Elon," Simmons said, his voice tight, "we have a serious problem. Mitchell's team is pulling out all the stops. They've filed a motion to dismiss our countersuit, claiming we have no grounds for defense. If the judge grants it, we could be looking at a major setback." Elon leaned back in his chair, staring out the window at the dimming sky. He had faced financial ruin, public ridicule, and fierce competition before. But now, he was up against something far more insidious: a well-organized, powerful enemy who wasn't just trying to beat him in the marketplace, but to destroy his very existence. "We can't let them win," Musk said, his voice low but determined. "We won't," Simmons replied. "But we need to find a way to turn the tide, and quickly. Mitchell has been working with a PR firm to discredit you. They've started leaking selective parts of the lawsuit to the media, twisting the narrative in their favor." Elon sighed. "I can handle the media. It's the legal side of this I'm worried about." Simmons hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Elon, there's something else you need to know. The judge, the one overseeing your case, hasn't been exactly neutral. Word on the street is that she has a personal history with Promethean. Her husband used to work for them. That could give them an edge in the courtroom." Elon's jaw tightened. "So, it's not just a legal battle. It's a war." Simmons was silent for a moment, then spoke firmly. "Yes, but it's a war you can win. I have a plan. It's risky, but it might just be our best shot." Elon looked down at the documents in front of him. He had been through so much in his life, so many battles that had seemed impossible to win. This was just another obstacle, another challenge. He wasn't going to back down. Not now. "What's the plan?" Elon asked, his voice steady. "I've been reviewing some of the evidence we have. There's a legal loophole we can exploit. A chance to challenge the validity of some of the evidence Promethean has submitted. If we can prove they've been tampering with or misrepresenting the facts, we can get the case dismissed on our terms. But we need to act fast before they have a chance to cover their tracks." Elon's mind raced as he processed the information. This was his chance. A chance to not just win the case, but to turn the tables on his rivals in a way they would never see coming. "Do it," Elon said, his decision firm. "Whatever it takes. Let's make them regret underestimating us." The next few days were a blur of frantic activity. Musk's legal team gathered evidence, combed through the lawsuit, and pieced together a defense that was both brilliant and unorthodox. They started uncovering inconsistencies in Promethean's filings, digging into the company's history and uncovering previously hidden connections between key individuals involved in the case. Elon, meanwhile, took to social media, countering the narrative spun by the press with direct, unfiltered statements. But despite their hard work, the situation only seemed to worsen in the public eye. More leaks appeared, twisting Musk's words and actions into something far more sinister. The media painted him as a reckless billionaire, and with each passing day, the tide seemed to be turning further against him. However, Elon knew something that no one else did. When the storm finally broke, it would be his legal team, and not his enemies, who would be left reeling. The tension in the courtroom had reached its peak. Musk's legal team was working around the clock, and every day that passed seemed to bring them closer to a breakthrough. David Simmons, Elon's lead attorney, was confident, but there was a certain heaviness in the air. The situation was dire, and Promethean was relentlessly pushing for Musk's downfall. Elon knew that waiting passively wasn't an option. He had to make a bold move. The press outside the courthouse was unforgiving, and every headline seemed to add more fuel to the fire. Musk was depicted as a reckless, self-serving billionaire who cared more about his image than the truth. But that was nothing new for him. The media had always painted him as the villain, and yet it never stopped him from pushing forward. This time, however, the stakes were much higher. One evening, as Musk sat alone in his office, staring out at the sprawling Tesla factory below, he received a call from an unexpected source, Judge Helena Marshall. The judge who had been mocking him, ridiculing his every move, had reached out herself. Elon answered the call with a calm that hid his inner frustration. "Mr. Musk," the judge's voice came through the receiver, cool and composed. "I've reviewed your legal filings and must say, I'm impressed by your persistence. But let's not kid ourselves, you're not getting out of this easily." Elon, ever the master of controlling his emotions, replied smoothly, "Judge Marshall, I wouldn't expect anything less from you." There was a brief pause, then a sigh from the other end. "I'm not here to discuss the case, Mr. Musk. I'm here to tell you something important. Your legal team has uncovered some inconsistencies, but so have mine. There's a lot more at stake here than you think." Musk raised an eyebrow. He had already assumed there were some dirty tricks being played, but hearing it from the judge herself was unexpected. "What are you implying?" "You're not the only one with secrets, Mr. Musk," she said cryptically. "The stakes of this case are higher than anyone's telling you. You're playing a game much bigger than a simple legal dispute. Be careful who you trust. Things aren't always as they seem." And with that, the call ended. Elon sat in stunned silence. There was an ominous weight to her words, but he couldn't quite grasp their full meaning. Could the judge be warning him about something more than just the case? He had to be careful. He knew how easy it was to be manipulated in this game. He couldn't afford to sit back and let the system work against him. It was time for his next move. A move that no one, especially not Promethean, would expect. The following day, Musk gathered his team. He knew that this wasn't just about legal tactics anymore. This was about taking control of the narrative. He couldn't allow his rivals to dictate the conversation. He needed to shift the momentum in his favor, and he had the perfect plan to do just that. "All right," he said, standing in front of a large whiteboard in his conference room. "We need to act decisively, and we need to do it now. Here's what I'm thinking. We take the fight to the public." His legal team looked at him in confusion. "What do you mean?" Simmons asked, the concern clear in his voice. "We're going to leak something. Something big. Something they won't be able to ignore," Elon explained, pacing the room. "But this time, it's not just a document or a piece of evidence. It's a story. A story about how Promethean has been undermining the system, using unethical practices to manipulate their own legal filings." Simmons paused, considering the idea. "You want to leak information that could further damage Promethean's reputation, but how do we know they'll bite?" "Because we're going to give them exactly what they want," Elon said with a sly grin. "We're going to release a bombshell that ties Promethean directly to some very shady dealings. And we're going to make sure the media can't ignore it. I want every news outlet covering it by tomorrow morning." The room fell silent as the team processed the gravity of Elon's plan. If this worked, it could completely turn the tide in the courtroom. But if it backfired, it could mean disaster. Elon knew the risks, but he also understood that in battles like this, sometimes the most unexpected moves were the ones that led to victory. "Do it," Simmons finally said. "Let's give them hell." That night, as the city of Los Angeles slept, Elon's legal team worked feverishly to prepare the leak. They meticulously crafted a detailed dossier, filled with evidence linking Promethean to fraudulent practices, including bribery, falsifying safety reports, and a coordinated effort to sabotage Tesla's progress. It was a heavy-handed move, but Elon knew the truth was on his side. The next morning, the world woke up to a series of shocking headlines. Promethean Industries was accused of being involved in a massive corporate conspiracy to manipulate the legal system and undermine competitors, including Tesla. The documents that were leaked to the press were explosive, evidence of illegal activities that no one had expected to come from a company of Promethean stature. The media was in a frenzy. The narrative had flipped overnight. Musk, who had been portrayed as a villain, was suddenly seen as a victim of corporate sabotage, and Promethean's carefully constructed reputation was crumbling. The courtroom was no longer just a battleground for legal arguments. It had become a stage for a corporate war. But just as Elon expected, there was one final twist. The very next day, Judge Marshall made a surprise ruling. She called a special hearing, demanding both parties present their evidence before her in a closed session. It was an unusual move, one that no one saw coming. Rumors flew that she had been personally affected by the leaks, her own ties to Promethean now exposed. As the legal teams gathered for the hearing, Musk's mind raced. He knew this could be the beginning of a new phase in the fight, but he also understood that he couldn't afford to make a misstep. The game had changed, and now, it was all about who could outmaneuver the other. Elon Musk was no stranger to high-stakes drama. But now, the real war had begun. The atmosphere in the courtroom that morning was nothing short of electric. Elon sat in his seat, flanked by his legal team, his eyes scanning the room, trying to read the faces of the opposition. Promethean's team was unusually quiet, their confidence shaken by the bombshell leak from the previous day. Elon could almost feel the weight of the public's gaze, even though the courtroom was closed off to the press for the moment. He had no idea what Judge Marshall was about to do, but he had a sinking feeling that today would be a turning point in more ways than one. David Simmons leaned over to Elon. "Whatever happens today, we need to keep our cool. This isn't just about the legal fight anymore. It's about perception. If we don't play this right, the media could twist it again. Elon nodded, but inside, he was steeling himself. This wasn't just about his company or his reputation. This was about showing the world that you could fight back, even when everything seemed stacked against you. He had been through the fires of adversity countless times before, but this was different. This was personal. The courtroom doors swung open, and Judge Helena Marshall made her entrance. The murmurs of the few attorneys present stopped immediately. She moved with purpose, her expression unreadable, but there was a tension in her step that Musk could immediately sense. This wasn't a typical day in court. "Everyone, please take your seats," Judge Marshall's voice rang out. "We are here for a special hearing, an emergency session. Mr. Musk, Mr. Mitchell, and all involved parties, please be prepared to present your evidence immediately." Elon felt the eyes of everyone in the room turn toward him. The judge had clearly made up her mind about one thing. She wanted to get to the truth of the matter, and she wasn't going to wait around for the lawyers to play their usual games. But it wasn't just about the legalities. It was also about how much pressure she could put on Musk and Promethean. Her next move would determine whether this case would end in a swift conclusion or drag on for years. Judge Marshall sat down, adjusting her glasses, and gave a sharp nod. "Mr. Simmons, I trust you're ready to present your case?" Simmons stood, straightening his tie. "Yes, Your Honor. We're prepared to present new evidence regarding the unethical practices Promethean Industries has engaged in, which directly ties them to a series of illegal corporate maneuvers. These actions include bribing government officials, falsifying vehicle safety reports, and intentionally spreading disinformation to harm the electric vehicle industry." Promethean's team, led by Charles Mitchell, was on edge. They hadn't expected this. The leaks were one thing, something they thought they could manage. But now, in front of the judge, Simmons was going public with a damning series of allegations. "Mr. Mitchell," the judge said coldly, "you're free to respond." Mitchell, though visibly shaken, stood up, his voice attempting to maintain authority. "Your Honor, we vehemently deny these accusations. Tesla's release of this information is not only defamatory but could potentially be the result of illegal hacking. We have evidence that the information Musk's team is presenting is fabricated." Elon couldn't help but smirk. Mitchell's defense was weak, and the accusations were desperate. He knew it was only a matter of time before the judge saw through the facade. But then, the judge interrupted. "I don't need to hear any more about your accusations, Mr. Mitchell. I've reviewed the evidence, and frankly, your position has become untenable." The courtroom fell into stunned silence. Judge Marshall's words were like a punch to the gut. Elon couldn't believe what he was hearing. Had the judge, after all of this, just turned on Promethean? "Mr. Musk," Judge Marshall continued, turning her gaze toward him, "I've also taken the time to review the evidence you've provided. Some of it is indeed concerning. However, there's a bigger issue at play here. An issue that could affect the future of the industry as a whole. I am calling for a temporary halt on all litigation proceedings for 30 days while further investigations are conducted into both Tesla and Promethean. During this time, I expect both parties to cooperate with a third-party review board." Elon's mind raced. A temporary halt? It wasn't the victory he had been hoping for, but it wasn't a complete loss either. This gave him time to strengthen his position, time to dig deeper, and most importantly, time to continue shaping the narrative. However, the next 30 days could be crucial. As the judge concluded the session, she added one final remark. "And as for you, Mr. Musk, be prepared for the consequences if your company's practices are found to be equally misleading. If these allegations are proven true, this case will not be dismissed lightly." Elon's heart skipped a beat. The judge wasn't offering him a free pass. If Tesla was found to have committed any wrongdoing, there would be severe consequences. But for now, she had given him something far more valuable than a ruling. She had given him time. As the hearing adjourned, the tension in the air was palpable. Promethean's legal team was furious, and Mitchell was practically seething with rage. His attempt to discredit Musk had just blown up in his face, and now, he was forced to sit back while further investigations were launched into his own company. But Elon wasn't about to rest on his laurels. This temporary victory was just one battle in a much larger war. Now, it was time to play the long game. Back at Tesla's headquarters, Elon gathered his inner circle, his most trusted advisors and engineers. He needed a plan to counter the accusations that had just been made against Tesla. Though they had time, the pressure was mounting. "I want our team to go over every file, every report, every safety certification," Elon said, his voice filled with urgency. "We cannot afford any mistakes, any discrepancies. If there's even a shred of evidence that Promethean's claims could be true, we need to address it now." His team nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. For Elon, there was no room for error. In the weeks to come, the entire Tesla operation would go into overdrive, ensuring that everything from the smallest bolt in the cars to the highest-level financial documents was above board. But just as Musk prepared for the next phase of the battle, he couldn't shake the feeling that the judge's warning had been more than just a passing remark. What was really happening behind the scenes? Who else was pulling the strings? The next few weeks were a blur of preparation, uncertainty, and high-stakes strategy. Elon knew the clock was ticking, and every moment brought him closer to the crucial third-party investigation that would determine the future of both Tesla and Promethean. He had been granted 30 days of breathing room, but that was all it was, time. Time to gather evidence, to clear his name, and to make sure the world knew the truth. But as the investigation loomed, Elon couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The sudden appearance of the third-party review board, as suggested by Judge Marshall, had taken everyone by surprise. There had been no prior indication that such an investigation was coming. And then, there was the judge's cryptic warning, "Be careful who you trust." Was it a warning about the investigation? Or was it something more? Elon couldn't help but feel that there were forces at work beyond the courtroom, hidden hands pulling strings he couldn't see. Tesla's legal team, led by David Simmons, was already in overdrive. They were poring over every document, every statement, every certification that Tesla had ever submitted. It wasn't just about proving that Promethean was wrong. It was about making sure there were no cracks in Tesla's armor. They couldn't afford even a small mistake. Elon had seen too many times how a single misstep could lead to disaster. "We're running out of time," Simmons said one evening, as he stood over a table filled with stacks of paperwork. "I've gone through everything we've submitted, but I'm still worried about the gaps. There are a few key people we need to speak to, engineers, investors, even some former employees." Elon leaned back in his chair, staring out at the distant horizon. "Get them. We need to be airtight. I don't care if we have to talk to every person who's ever worked here. No loose ends." The following days were a whirlwind. Simmons and his team coordinated with Tesla's internal staff, working nonstop to identify any potential vulnerabilities. Elon, on the other hand, was focused on another front, the public. He knew that the media was still circling, waiting for the next scandal to break. He had to stay ahead of the narrative, and the only way to do that was by taking control of the message. He began speaking directly to the public, posting regular updates on Twitter, addressing the accusations head-on, and sharing Tesla's commitment to transparency. Elon's presence on social media had always been a double-edged sword, but in this situation, it was his best weapon. "We will not be bullied," he tweeted one afternoon, following a series of headlines that painted him as a villain. "Tesla is committed to the truth. Let the investigation unfold. The facts will speak for themselves." But even as Elon fought to maintain control over the public narrative, he couldn't ignore the tension in the air. Something felt off. There was no telling how the third-party review would go, but Elon knew that Promethean's legal team was going to do everything in their power to sabotage the investigation. They had already proved how far they were willing to go to win, and now they had a full month to pull out all the stops. As the investigation began, the third-party board consisted of three highly respected figures in the business and legal worlds: Julian Hayes, a former corporate prosecutor known for his no-nonsense approach; Rachel Adams, a seasoned financial analyst with a reputation for digging into companies' finances; and Thomas Fields, an engineer with decades of experience in the automotive industry. The board's mission was clear: review the evidence presented by both Tesla and Promethean, assess the validity of the claims, and provide an unbiased report. Elon had his doubts, but he knew he had to put his faith in the process. If anything, This investigation was a chance to prove that Tesla had nothing to hide. But Promethean wasn't going to sit idly by. Behind the scenes, Mitchell and his legal team were working overtime to steer the investigation in their favor. They had already hired a team of private investigators to dig into Tesla's past, hoping to uncover any dirt they could use to discredit the company. It wasn't long before the investigation took a surprising turn. One morning, Simmons called Elon with alarming news. "Elon, we've got a problem. The third-party board just made a request for more documents. Specifically, they want to see every internal communication regarding Tesla's production goals for the last 3 years." Elon's heart sank. Internal communications? That was a red flag. If the third-party board was asking for these documents, it could mean they were looking for something specific, something Tesla hadn't accounted for. "Are they trying to find something to pin on us?" Elon asked, his voice tight. Simmons hesitated before replying. "It's possible. We need to be careful. The documents they're requesting could be used to suggest that we knowingly misled investors about production timelines. If they find anything, it could derail everything we've worked for." Elon knew what this meant. The production goals had always been a sensitive topic at Tesla. There were times when he had publicly overpromised and underdelivered, but it was never with malicious intent. He had always believed in pushing his teams to achieve the impossible. Still, this request raised the stakes to a level he wasn't prepared for. "We need to find those documents," Elon said, "but we also need to make sure they're clear on the context. We were pushing the limits, but we never intended to deceive anyone." Simmons nodded. "I'll get on it right away." The following days were filled with frantic searches through Tesla's archives, reviewing thousands of emails, reports, and memos. Elon couldn't help but feel the pressure mounting. Every document they pulled seemed to raise more questions than it answered. If the review board found anything that could be twisted against them, the media would pounce. And worse, it could give Promethean exactly the ammunition they needed. Finally, after days of painstaking work, Tesla's team found what they were looking for: a series of emails that explained the production challenges Tesla had faced over the years. The emails clearly outlined the company's difficulties in meeting production goals, but they also demonstrated that Tesla had been transparent about those challenges with investors. Elon felt a brief moment of relief. This was the proof they needed. But as the days dragged on, he couldn't shake the feeling that this battle was far from over. The review board would make its decision soon, and the world was waiting to see who would come out on top. As the investigation continued, Musk found himself caught between two worlds: the battle in the courtroom and the war for public opinion. The third-party review had the potential to shift the entire landscape of the case, but as each day passed, he couldn't help but wonder, who was really in control of this investigation? The pressure was reaching a fever pitch. Every day, Elon's mind raced with 1,000 questions. Who was pulling the strings behind the scenes? Who could he trust? And who was trying to manipulate the investigation? The walls of the courtroom were closing in, and while he fought with everything he had, Elon was beginning to realize that this battle was not just about Tesla versus Promethean. There was something much deeper at play. It had been a week since the third-party review board requested the internal communications about Tesla's production goals. Elon had spent sleepless nights reviewing documents, holding crisis meetings with his legal team, and strategizing on how to manage the narrative. His legal team had managed to organize everything for submission, and he had made sure every communication was transparent and documented. Still, Elon couldn't shake the feeling that the review board was searching for something more, something beyond the surface level of production numbers and timelines. He had the proof he needed to protect Tesla's image. The emails detailing the company's production challenges were straightforward. They demonstrated the immense difficulties Tesla had overcome and how the company had been forthright with investors about the setbacks. But what if the review board wasn't looking for the truth? What if they were looking for something to turn into a scandal? The phone call came in the late afternoon. It was David Simmons, sounding more strained than usual. "Elon, we need to talk," Simmons said, his voice low. "There's been a development." Elon felt his stomach drop. "What happened?" Simmons hesitated before replying. "The review board has been given new information, documents that weren't part of the original request, and they're questioning Tesla's financial projections from the past 2 years." Elon's mind raced. This wasn't a coincidence. If they were now targeting Tesla's financials, it meant someone had intentionally set the stage for this attack. Someone with access. Someone close to Tesla. Who's behind this? Elon asked, already piecing the situation together. This can't be random. I don't know, but there's more. The documents, these new ones, don't make any sense. They claim that Tesla had inflated its projections on production volumes and revenue, and that some of the numbers don't align with the internal targets we've reported, Simmons explained. Elon's mind was whirling. If the board took this seriously, it could unravel everything Tesla had worked so hard for. The accusations weren't just about over-promising production. They were suggesting fraud. And if there was one thing that would destroy Tesla's reputation, it was being labeled as dishonest. I need you to dig deeper, David, Elon said, his voice tight with urgency. I want to know where these documents came from and who gave them to the board. I'm on it, Simmons replied quickly. For the next few days, Elon barely slept. He kept his ear to the ground, pushing his team to investigate every angle. His mind kept going back to Judge Marshall's warning, be careful who you trust. Could it be that someone within Tesla was behind these mysterious documents? Or was it possible that Promethean's team had planted the evidence to sabotage Tesla from within? As the investigation into the documents continued, Elon was hit with another bombshell. It was late one evening when Simmons called again. This time, his voice was laced with disbelief. Elon, we found something. It's bigger than we thought. What is it? Elon asked, unable to contain his growing sense of dread. Simmons paused for a moment. There's a person, someone we didn't expect. A former Tesla executive, someone who had access to sensitive financial documents. They've been working with Promethean. Elon's breath caught in his chest. What? Who? Samuel Green, Simmons replied. He was part of the finance team for years. Left Tesla last year. It looks like he's been feeding them information. He had access to confidential financial projections, and it's possible that he's the one who provided the manipulated documents to the review board. Elon's mind spun as he tried to process the revelation. Samuel Green, a trusted former employee who had helped guide Tesla's financial strategy. He had been with the company for nearly 5 years, and Elon had always seen him as a loyal member of the team. How could this happen? How could someone so close to Tesla betray them? I need to speak to him, Elon said, his voice shaking with anger and disbelief. The next day, Elon arranged a meeting with Samuel Green. It was clear that Green had been expecting it. When Elon entered the room, Samuel was sitting at a table, his expression unreadable. There was a tension in the air that neither man could ignore. Elon, Samuel said, his voice low, I didn't want you to find out this way. Elon took a deep breath, trying to keep his emotions in check. You've been feeding Promethean information? Why, Samuel? After everything Tesla did for you? Samuel shifted in his seat, looking uncomfortable. I didn't think it would go this far, Elon. I was trying to protect the company, but things got out of control. Protect the company? Elon snapped. You've been working with the enemy, trying to destroy everything we've built. Do you have any idea what you've done? Samuel's eyes were full of regret, but his voice remained calm. I didn't do it for the money, Elon. I did it because I thought you were taking too many risks. I thought Tesla was going down a dangerous path, and Promethean offered me a way out. An opportunity to ensure the survival of electric cars, even if it wasn't with Tesla. Elon clenched his fists. This wasn't about money or survival. This was about betrayal. Samuel had tried to sabotage Tesla, believing that Promethean's way was the right path. But in doing so, he had not only betrayed Elon but had also betrayed the very future of clean energy that Tesla had been fighting for. You've made a huge mistake, Elon said coldly, his anger simmering just below the surface. Now, you're going to fix it. You're going to tell me everything. How you got these documents to Promethean, and who else is involved. Samuel hesitated, but eventually nodded. I'll tell you everything. But you have to understand, I never meant for it to get this far. I thought I was helping. I thought I was saving the industry. As Samuel spilled the details, Elon's mind raced. The extent of the conspiracy was far larger than he had imagined. It wasn't just Samuel and Promethean. There were others, hidden inside Tesla, pulling strings, trying to bring down the company from the inside. Elon was furious, but he knew that this was the moment of truth. The fight for Tesla's future was no longer about the courtroom alone. It was about exposing the corruption, the betrayal, and the forces trying to undermine everything he had worked for. And in that moment, Elon realized that this battle had only just begun. The weight of Samuel Green's confession hung heavily in the air, each word he spoke adding a deeper layer of complexity to the puzzle Elon was trying to solve. Green's betrayal wasn't just a personal blow. It was an attack on everything Tesla stood for. Yet, the pieces were falling into place. The documents, the leak to the review board, the strange timing. It all pointed to a coordinated effort to bring Tesla to its knees. Samuel had worked closely with Promethean for months, feeding them internal data and financial projections, all while posing as a loyal Tesla employee. He claimed to have acted out of a misguided sense of protecting the electric vehicle industry, but Elon knew better. Samuel's vision had been clouded by his own fears of failure, and his actions had created a massive storm that could destroy everything Tesla had worked so hard for. "Who else is involved, Samuel?" Elon asked, his voice cold, his eyes never leaving Green's face. Samuel shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His confession was only half-hearted, and Elon could tell he was still trying to justify his actions. "There are others. I didn't do it alone. There's a network, people inside Tesla, people outside the company. Promethean isn't the only player here." Elon's heart raced. This was bigger than he thought. Someone, or some group, had been pulling the strings from the shadows, orchestrating this entire mess. It wasn't just about corporate warfare anymore. It was about sabotage at the highest level. "Who's behind this?" Elon demanded, his voice sharp. Samuel's face twitched. He hesitated, clearly wrestling with his conscience. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know their names. I was just a small part of a much bigger operation. But I know one thing. I wasn't the only one feeding them information. There's someone in Tesla's upper management who's been working with Promethean from the start." Elon's blood ran cold. Someone within Tesla's ranks had been betraying him, betraying the company, all along. He had trusted everyone in that room, people who had been with him through thick and thin. But now, it was clear that the enemy wasn't just outside the walls. It was inside. Elon wasted no time. He had to act, and he had to act fast. He immediately instructed Simmons to begin a full internal investigation. Every person who had access to sensitive information would be scrutinized, no exceptions. There would be no room for hesitation, no leniency. Tesla's future depended on it. But as he hung up the phone with Simmons, a sense of dread settled in his chest. Who could it be? The person inside Tesla who had betrayed him? It could be anyone, from an executive to a junior employee. Elon had always surrounded himself with people he trusted, but now that trust was fractured beyond repair. The investigation needed to go deeper, and it needed to be thorough. He couldn't afford to miss any details. At the same time, Elon knew that the review board's investigation was still ongoing. He couldn't let this internal sabotage affect the outcome. If the review board discovered even the smallest crack in Tesla's operations, it could be disastrous. And with Promethean's relentless push to take Tesla down, every moment counted. Over the next few days, the investigation into Tesla's ranks began to uncover some disturbing facts. A handful of employees with access to sensitive financial information had been communicating with individuals outside the company, prominent figures within the automotive industry, certain key players in the clean energy sector, and even people tied to Promethean. These weren't just casual conversations. They were coordinated efforts to leak valuable data and undermine Tesla's credibility. One name kept coming up, the same name that had haunted Elon's thoughts since Samuel's confession: Jonah Webb. Webb had been a senior finance manager at Tesla for over a decade, someone who had worked closely with Elon and understood the company's most private financial strategies. If there was anyone who had the ability to exploit Tesla's internal information, it was Jonah. Elon's blood boiled at the thought of it. Jonah Webb had been one of his earliest hires, someone who had been with the company through its most difficult times. Elon had trusted him, confided in him, and now he was the one behind the leaks. It was time for Elon to confront the betrayer. Elon summoned Jonah to his office, his mind racing with fury and disbelief. He couldn't allow the personal betrayal to cloud his judgment, but the hurt was palpable. Jonah had been part of the team, a loyal soldier in Tesla's battle to change the world. Now, it appeared that loyalty had been nothing more than an illusion. When Jonah walked into the office, Elon barely looked at him. "Have a seat," Elon said coldly, his voice barely audible. Jonah's face was a mask of calm, but Elon could see the subtle signs of guilt. His hands were slightly trembling as he lowered himself into the chair across from Elon. He didn't say anything immediately, waiting for Elon to speak first. "Elon," Jonah began, his voice steady but strained, "I know what you're thinking, but—" "No," Elon interrupted, his voice rising. "I know what you've done, Jonah. I know you've been leaking our most sensitive information to Promethean. I know you've been working against everything we've built. And now, I need you to tell me why." Jonah looked down at the floor, his shoulders slumping as the weight of his actions became too much to bear. "I never meant for it to go this far, Elon. I didn't think anyone would get hurt. I thought I was doing what was best for the industry, for clean energy. I thought maybe Promethean had the right idea." "The right idea?" Elon repeated, incredulous. "You sold out Tesla for Promethean? After everything we've done? After everything we've sacrificed?" Jonah met Elon's gaze, his eyes filled with regret. "I believed in the vision of Tesla, I did, but things were changing, and I started to doubt. Promethean offered something I thought was safer, a way to make the transition to clean energy without the risk. I didn't see the harm in it at first, but now I see the damage I've caused." Elon's hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just about a few leaked documents. This was about trust, betrayal, and the future of Tesla. Jonah had been part of the family, part of the team that had fought to change the world. And now, he had become the enemy. "You're going to make this right," Elon said, his voice cold as ice. "You're going to tell me everything. Every meeting, every conversation, everything. And then you'll leave Tesla, and you will never come back." Jonah nodded, his face pale with fear. "I'll do whatever it takes. I never wanted to hurt the company, Elon. I thought I was doing the right thing." Elon could barely look at him anymore. "You weren't. But now, you'll fix it. And you'll take responsibility for what you've done." As Jonah left the office, Elon felt a rush of anger and betrayal. It wasn't just the leaked information, or the sabotage, or the fact that Tesla's future was now in jeopardy. It was the realization that someone he had trusted, someone he had called a colleague, had been working against him all along. But Elon wasn't the type to let betrayal break him. No, this was just another obstacle. And as the investigation continued, and the review board's decision loomed closer, one thing was clear. Elon Musk would stop at nothing to protect Tesla and prove that no one, not even the most trusted insiders, could take down the company he had built from the ground up. Elon's mind raced as he watched Jonah Webb leave the office. The confrontation had left him with more questions than answers. It wasn't just about Jonah anymore. It was about the people who had helped build Tesla and the dark side of loyalty that sometimes hid treachery. He'd always believed in the mission, in the vision of revolutionizing clean energy and making the world a better place. But now, Elon understood that sometimes the most painful battles came from the inside. Sitting at his desk, Elon stared out the window, watching the sun set over the Tesla factory. The orange light cast long shadows over the assembly lines, where the hum of machines and the bustling of engineers continued, unaffected by the storm that had just hit him personally. The world kept turning, but in the depths of his mind, Elon knew this battle was far from over. In the days that followed, Elon became consumed by the task of uncovering every thread of the conspiracy. He couldn't let the betrayal go unchecked. Tesla's future depended on ensuring that those who had worked behind the scenes to undermine the company would be brought to justice. The internal investigation intensified. Simmons, his trusted advisor, combed through every email, every meeting, every piece of communication between the executives and external contacts. They traced the flow of information, and while they found a few more minor leaks, it was clear that Jonah had been the central figure. But Elon's instincts told him that someone else was still pulling the strings from the shadows. As the investigation into Tesla's internal affairs continued, Elon also found himself caught in the whirlwind of the ongoing review board inquiry. The accusations against Tesla were mounting. Despite the evidence Elon had gathered to defend the company's integrity, the board was skeptical, questioning every move Tesla had made. Their doubts were growing, and the pressure on him intensified. Then, something unexpected happened. Elon received an anonymous email. At first, he thought it was another attempt to discredit him, or worse, another piece of sabotage from Promethean. But as he opened the message, he realized it was something far more alarming. The email contained confidential documents from the review board's investigation, showing that someone had been manipulating the outcome of the review. It was clear. The review board had been compromised. Someone inside had been feeding Promethean information, pushing the narrative that Tesla's production goals were unrealistic and its financial projections inflated. Elon felt his pulse quicken as he read the names listed on the documents, people he had trusted in the legal and financial departments, people who had worked alongside him for years. The scope of the betrayal was deeper than he could have ever imagined. The next morning, Elon called an emergency meeting with his top advisors. As they gathered in the conference room, he placed the documents on the table, the weight of the situation settling over them like a heavy cloud. "We have a problem," Elon began, his voice cold. "The review board is compromised. Someone inside Tesla has been feeding them false information. And this time, it's not just a few leaks. It's an orchestrated effort to bring down everything we've built." The room was silent for a moment as the realization hit them. Simmons, who had been working tirelessly on the internal investigation, was the first to speak. "Do we know who did it?" he asked, his voice tense. Elon nodded grimly. "It's not just one person. It's a network of people. People inside Tesla, and possibly even people we thought were allies." Simmons leaned forward, his face tight with concern. "This is much bigger than we thought, isn't it?" Elon looked around the room at the faces of his team, people who had stood by him through the worst of times. He could see the fear in their eyes, the same fear he felt deep inside. Tesla was under attack, and it wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It was a fight for its very survival. "We can't let this slide," Elon said firmly. "We need to expose the truth. We need to show the world that this is an inside job. Show them who's been trying to destroy Tesla from the inside." The next few days were a blur of meetings, strategizing, and gathering evidence. Elon's legal team worked around the clock, meticulously going through every document, every phone record, every transaction. And as they dug deeper, they began to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy. It wasn't just Tesla's production numbers that had been manipulated. It was the financial projections, the marketing strategies, the very data that Tesla had relied on to maintain investor confidence. It was all a lie. But there was one thing that kept Elon moving forward. Despite the betrayal, despite the corruption he had uncovered, he knew that Tesla could still rise from the ashes. It wasn't just about the company. It was about the mission. It was about the people who had believed in the vision of a better future, a future where clean energy could change the world. And Elon wouldn't let anyone take that away from him. Late one night, after everyone else had gone home, Elon sat in his office, alone. His mind was racing as he reviewed the evidence. He could feel the weight of the decision that was coming. There was only one way forward, and it would be a bold move, one that could either save Tesla or destroy it once and for all. His phone buzzed on the desk, snapping him out of his thoughts. It was Simmons. "Elon, we've got a lead on who's been pulling the strings," Simmons said urgently. "It's bigger than we thought. The person we're looking for isn't just a high-ranking executive. It's someone with even more power than that." Elon's heart skipped a beat. "Who?" Simmons paused, then spoke in a low voice. "It's Judge Marshall. He's been working with Promethean all along. He's the one who orchestrated the entire investigation, manipulating the review board to make sure Tesla was found guilty. He's the mastermind behind this entire operation." Elon sat back in his chair, his mind reeling. It was impossible to believe. Judge Marshall, the one person who had seemed to be the most impartial, the one person who had been presiding over the case with an air of fairness, was actually the person behind the entire plot to destroy Tesla? "Are you sure?" Elon asked, his voice barely a whisper. Simmons didn't hesitate. "We've traced the connections. Marshall has been in contact with Promethean executives for months. He's been taking bribes to influence the investigation, to ensure that Tesla would be held accountable for things we never did. Elon's fists clenched, and a burning sense of fury rose inside him. Judge Marshall had betrayed him, betrayed Tesla, and now the reckoning was coming. The next day, Elon went public with the revelations. He couldn't afford to let this scandal remain hidden. If Promethean thought they could play dirty and get away with it, they had another thing coming. At a press conference, Elon stood before the cameras, his face resolute. "We have uncovered a conspiracy within Tesla, one that involves high-ranking officials working with our competitors to undermine everything we've worked for. But I won't stand for it. Tesla will fight back. We will expose the truth, and we will emerge stronger than ever." As the words left his mouth, he knew that the battle was far from over. But this time, he wasn't alone. He had the truth on his side, and nothing could stop him from revealing it. The truth had been revealed, but it wasn't enough. Elon Musk knew that the real war was just beginning. The press conference had set the stage, but the fight for Tesla's survival was far from over. If anything, it had only intensified. The media storm was overwhelming, with headlines that alternated between praise and scorn, skepticism and support. But in the midst of the chaos, Elon found clarity. This wasn't just about Tesla's future, it was about sending a message. A message that no one, no matter how powerful, could undermine the vision of the future that Tesla embodied. He spent the following days preparing his counterattack, focusing on two fronts. First, he would expose Judge Marshall's involvement with Promethean. He would make sure the entire world knew what had been happening behind closed doors. Second, he would shift the focus back to Tesla's achievements, reminding the world of the undeniable progress the company had made in revolutionizing the electric vehicle industry. The first step in Elon's strategy was to take down Judge Marshall. Simmons and the legal team had already gathered enough evidence to prove that the judge had been in cahoots with Promethean. They had emails, bank transactions, and even recorded conversations between Marshall and high-level executives at Promethean. But to make sure Marshall was exposed, Elon needed more than just documents. He needed to create a public spectacle, a moment where Marshall could no longer hide behind the facade of impartiality. So, Elon made a bold decision. He called a press conference, not just to announce Tesla's next move, but to call out Judge Marshall directly. The world would watch as Elon revealed the depths of the conspiracy, and no one would be able to deny the truth. The plan was set in motion. Elon's team prepared the press release, organizing the materials to expose Marshall. Simmons would handle the legal side, making sure that everything was airtight. Elon himself would take the stage. As the day of the press conference approached, the tension in the air grew palpable. The eyes of the world were on Elon Musk. The question on everyone's mind wasn't just about Tesla's fate. It was about what Elon would do next. Would he fight back, or would he crumble under the pressure? The morning of the press conference arrived. Elon stood backstage, the weight of the moment heavy on his shoulders. This was the moment that could change everything. The stakes were higher than ever before. Behind him, his team was finishing the final preparations, ensuring that everything was set. Simmons gave him one last look, a silent nod of reassurance. "Ready?" Simmons asked. Elon nodded, taking a deep breath. "Let's do this." When he stepped out in front of the podium, the room fell silent. Dozens of cameras clicked, their lenses trained on him. Journalists murmured in anticipation. This wasn't just any press conference. It was a turning point in the battle for Tesla's survival. "Good morning," Elon began, his voice steady, yet carrying a weight that demanded attention. "I'm here today to talk about something that has come to light, something that is bigger than Tesla, bigger than just this company. This is about the future of innovation, the future of clean energy, and the future of justice." He paused, letting his words sink in. The room was hanging on every syllable. Tesla has always been committed to revolutionizing the world. We've faced obstacles, yes, but we've always moved forward because of one simple thing: the truth. And today, I am here to speak that truth. Tesla has been under attack, not by a competitor in the marketplace, but by a system that was supposed to protect us all. Elon took a deep breath, gathering the strength to say what he knew would be a bombshell. we've uncovered a vast conspiracy. A conspiracy involving high-ranking individuals, people we once trusted. But the most shocking revelation of all is that Judge Marshall, the very man who was supposed to oversee this case impartially, was working with Promethean from the very beginning. He has been using his position to manipulate the outcome of the review, to sabotage Tesla and our efforts to change the world. The room erupted into shocked murmurs. The camera flashes became more intense as reporters scrambled to process the information. Elon continued, his voice growing stronger. We have the evidence. We have the emails. We have the transactions. And we have the proof that Judge Marshall was taking bribes to ensure that Tesla's vision would be torn apart. We will not stand for it. And we will not let this go unchallenged. As the press conference ended, the media was in a frenzy. Headlines flashed across screens. Tesla CEO Elon Musk exposes conspiracy with review board. Judge Marshall involved in corruption scheme. Musk claims. Tesla's fight for survival takes on new life after scandal. Social media erupted with reactions, both supportive and critical. The controversy surrounding the review board, the investigation, and Judge Marshall dominated every news cycle. But despite the chaos, Elon felt a sense of satisfaction. He had taken the first step in ensuring that Tesla would be exonerated, and that those responsible for trying to bring it down would be held accountable. In the days following the press conference, Judge Marshall was forced to step down from his position as a result of the overwhelming evidence against him. The scandal sent shockwaves through the legal and business communities, with many questioning the integrity of the entire review process. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of Elon's counterattack. Tesla's legal team worked tirelessly to clear the company's name. As new evidence emerged, they filed lawsuits against Promethean, accusing the company of orchestrating a campaign of misinformation and sabotage. The legal battles were just beginning, but Elon knew that Tesla had one thing going for it, the truth. But even as Elon focused on the legal war, he also needed to refocus the public's attention on Tesla's accomplishments. The fight wasn't just about clearing the company's name. It was about reminding the world of the impact Tesla had made in the clean energy revolution. The company had created jobs, advanced electric vehicle technology, and led the way in sustainable energy solutions. Elon knew that the only way to fight the negative press was to show the world that Tesla was still on track to change the world. And so, he decided to unveil a new product, a breakthrough in battery technology that would not only revolutionize the electric car industry, but also provide a solution to the world's energy problems. The announcement came a few weeks later. Tesla would introduce a new line of energy storage products, designed for both consumers and businesses, capable of storing solar energy more efficiently than anything else on the market. It was a game changer, a sign that Tesla was still moving forward, despite the setbacks. The world began to take notice. Tesla's stock price began to rise again. Investors, who had been wary after the scandal broke, started to regain confidence. And the media, who had initially painted Elon as a reckless visionary, began to acknowledge the strength of his leadership in the face of adversity. But Elon wasn't done. There was still more work to do. The legal battles were far from over, and Promethean would not back down easily. But Elon Musk was a man who thrived on adversity. He had fought to get where he was, and he wasn't going to let anyone, no matter how powerful, tear it all down. The atmosphere around Tesla was charged with anticipation. Elon Musk had played his hand, exposing Judge Marshall's involvement in the conspiracy and redirecting the focus to Tesla's groundbreaking achievements. But even as the tides began to turn in his favor, there was still a lingering sense of unease. The battle wasn't over. In fact, it was only intensifying. Promethean wasn't going to let Elon's exposé slide. The company had too much at stake, too much power, and they were willing to do whatever it took to make sure Tesla didn't emerge victorious. Behind the scenes, their legal teams were sharpening their knives, preparing for an all-out war. Elon knew it. He could feel it. The storm was still brewing. The legal teams were in constant motion. Simmons, Elon's trusted advisor, had been working overtime, and the tension between him and Elon had reached its peak. While the internal investigation was progressing, the external battle with Promethean was about to reach its zenith. "We're close," Simmons said, his voice tight as he sat across from Elon in his office. "We've got the smoking gun. The public's support is behind us, but we need to push harder. Promethean is already planning their next move. And if we don't act quickly, we risk losing the momentum we've built." Elon nodded, his eyes focused as he stared out the window. His mind was already racing through strategies. The exposure of Judge Marshall was a significant blow to Promethean, but it wasn't enough to guarantee a win. Elon knew that the final move had to be calculated, precise, and bold. "We need to go on the offensive," Elon said, his tone firm. "Let's hit them where it hurts. We go public with everything: documents, emails, testimony. I want them to know that no matter how high they think they're standing, they're coming down." Simmons leaned forward, his brow furrowing. "You're suggesting we make the entire investigation public?" Elon's eyes gleamed with determination. "Exactly. No more secrets. No more games. Let's air it all out. Promethean tried to destroy us. Now it's our turn to expose them for who they really are." The decision was made. Elon, with Simmons by his side, arranged a meeting with Tesla's legal team. They meticulously went over the evidence they had gathered, organizing everything into a comprehensive dossier that would leave no room for doubt. Emails, wire transfers, phone records, every piece of information was included. Elon was relentless in his pursuit of the truth. He knew that, if he played his cards right, this would be the turning point. The moment that would define not only Tesla's future, but the entire clean energy revolution. The legal team began preparing for the next press release, one that would be much more explosive than the last. This time, they wouldn't just target Judge Marshall. They were going after Promethean itself. The conspiracy was about to be laid bare for the world to see. As the day of the release approached, tensions within Tesla's walls began to rise. The employees, who had been through so much over the past few months, were growing weary. The uncertainty was taking its toll on morale, but Elon had one final message for them. At a company-wide meeting, Elon stood before the employees of Tesla. His voice, usually calm and calculated, carried a weight of determination that reverberated through the crowd. "I know these past few months have been tough," Elon began, looking out over the sea of faces. "But we've been tested, and we've shown the world that we will never back down. We've exposed corruption, we've fought for the truth, and now we're on the cusp of something even greater. We're about to show the world what Tesla is really made of." The room fell silent as Elon's words hung in the air. "We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the future of this planet. For clean energy. For innovation. And we're going to win. But it's going to take all of us. Together." The employees erupted in applause, their spirits lifted. Elon had reminded them of the bigger picture, of the importance of their mission. It wasn't just about the company. It was about the future they were all working to create. The press release went out the next day, and it was everything Elon had hoped for. The world was stunned as the details of Promethean's involvement in the scheme against Tesla were revealed. Every document, every conversation, was laid out for public consumption. The conspiracy was no longer a whispered rumor. It was undeniable fact. The media went wild. The reaction was swift, and Promethean found itself at the center of a firestorm. Their stock price plummeted, and their executives scrambled to save face. But it was too late. The truth had come to light, and there was no going back. Elon didn't waste time celebrating. The battle wasn't over yet. There were still legal battles to fight, still enemies to face. But he had delivered the knockout blow. Promethean's credibility was shattered, and Tesla's reputation had been restored. As the dust settled, Elon stood at the forefront of a new era for Tesla. The company had emerged from the crisis stronger than ever, with renewed investor confidence and public support. But Elon knew this victory wasn't just about clearing Tesla's name. It was about proving that no one, no matter how powerful, could stand in the way of progress. The final showdown was over. But the real work, the work of transforming the world with clean energy, was just beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The dust had finally settled, but the impact of the battle still hung in the air. Tesla had fought its way through the storm, and Elon Musk had emerged victorious, but the journey was far from over. In the aftermath of the scandal, with the world watching closely, Elon knew he couldn't afford to rest on his laurels. He had not only cleared Tesla's name, but had also proved that the company was unstoppable. However, as the legal battles began to wind down, Elon focused on the next chapter. The media frenzy around the conspiracy had subsided, but a new challenge emerged: restoring the trust of investors and consumers while positioning Tesla for a bright future. It was an early morning at Tesla's headquarters. Elon sat in his office, looking out over the sprawling campus. The world was in flux, and Tesla had a pivotal role to play in shaping it. Despite the triumph, he knew he had to stay ahead of the curve. The future of electric vehicles, renewable energy, and space exploration all depended on the next big breakthrough, and Elon was not a man to rest on past successes. The phone rang, snapping him out of his thoughts. It was Simmons. "Elon, I just got off a call with the board," Simmons said, his voice tinged with excitement. "They want to move forward with the new energy initiative. The public's behind us now, and this is the perfect time to accelerate our plans for the future." Elon's heart quickened. This was it, the moment when everything could change. If Tesla could push its new energy technology forward, it could reshape the global energy market and solidify the company as a leader in the next great industrial revolution. "That's great news," Elon replied, standing up from his desk and walking over to the window. He could almost hear the hum of the future in his mind. "Let's make sure we're ready to take full advantage of the momentum. We need to show the world that Tesla is more than just a car company. It's a revolution." The days following that conversation were a blur of activity. Tesla's R&D teams, energized by the company's renewed focus, worked around the clock to finalize the plans for their next breakthrough product, a new, more efficient battery storage system that could change the game in the energy sector. Elon was determined to stay involved in every aspect of the development process. He wanted to ensure that Tesla didn't just meet expectations, they would exceed them. The energy storage product would be the cornerstone of Tesla's vision for a future powered by clean, renewable energy, and it needed to be nothing short of revolutionary. At the same time, Tesla's legal team continued to push forward with the lawsuit against Promethean. Though the public knew the truth, Elon wanted to make sure that Promethean would never again attempt to undermine Tesla's progress. The legal battle was long, but Elon was patient. He had learned that sometimes victory came not just from outsmarting your opponents, but from outlasting them. One evening, Elon stood in front of the new energy storage product prototype in Tesla's lab. It was sleek, powerful, and far more efficient than anything currently on the market. Engineers buzzed around him, making final adjustments and running tests. Elon's eyes sparkled with excitement. This was the future. The product wasn't just a step forward for Tesla. It was a game-changer for the entire world. It was designed to store energy from solar panels more efficiently and allow it to be used in homes and businesses, reducing reliance on fossil fuels and traditional power grids. "Is everything set for the demonstration tomorrow?" Elon asked one of the engineers, his voice filled with anticipation. "We're good to go, Elon," the engineer replied, adjusting his glasses. "We're testing the system's load capacity right now. It's holding up better than expected." Elon nodded, a grin spreading across his face. He was more than just a CEO. He was a visionary, and this moment was the culmination of years of hard work and setbacks. Tesla had faced down one of the most brutal corporate conspiracies in history, and now it was on the verge of changing the world once again. The following day, Tesla held a press conference to unveil the new energy storage product. The media was once again gathered in anticipation, eager to see what Elon Musk and his company had in store. Elon took the stage with his usual quiet confidence, a few brief words of thanks to the media and Tesla's supporters, then he got straight to the point. "Today, Tesla is unveiling a breakthrough in energy storage," Elon began, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "This new system will not only revolutionize how we store and use energy, but also pave the way for a future where clean, renewable energy is accessible to everyone, everywhere." The room was quiet, all eyes focused on him as Elon unveiled the product. It was sleek, compact, and packed with technological innovations that made it far more efficient than any competitor. The system could store vast amounts of solar energy, which could then be accessed at any time, allowing users to drastically reduce their dependence on traditional power sources. The energy storage solution we've developed will not only change the way we power homes, but entire cities, Elon continued. It's a key step toward realizing the goal of a world run on clean, sustainable energy. The crowd erupted into applause. Tesla's latest innovation was met with widespread enthusiasm. It was clear that the company had not only survived the storm, it was stronger than ever. And with this new product, Tesla was poised to dominate the energy market just as it had the electric vehicle industry. As the media buzzed with excitement over the announcement, the stock price for Tesla soared once again. Investors, who had been wary after the legal battles, now saw the company in an entirely new light. Tesla wasn't just recovering from the scandal. It was reinventing itself as the leader in clean energy. For Elon, this moment was proof that Tesla's mission could not be stopped. The conspiracy that had tried to bring him down had failed. And now, with Tesla's position stronger than ever, he could finally focus on what mattered most: changing the world. Days later, as Elon sat at his desk in the quiet of the evening, he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. There had been setbacks, betrayals, and moments of doubt, but through it all, his resolve had never wavered. He had never lost sight of his vision: a world powered by clean energy, where innovation could thrive, and where the impossible was always within reach. Tesla was no longer just a car company. It was the vanguard of a new era, one that embraced the future and rejected the limitations of the past. And as Elon looked out over the city skyline, he knew that this was just the beginning. As the world marveled at Tesla's new energy storage product, Elon Musk could feel the ripples of change begin to spread far beyond the company's walls. Investors, the media, and most importantly, the general public, were starting to view Tesla in a whole new light. The company was no longer just a car manufacturer. It was becoming the face of the future, of sustainability, and of a world powered by clean, renewable energy. But with great success came greater challenges. Tesla's newfound prominence meant that more eyes were on the company, and not all of them were friendly. Competition in the clean energy space was about to heat up, and Elon knew that maintaining Tesla's edge would require constant innovation, resilience, and the ability to stay ahead of the curve. Elon spent his days locked in meetings with his top engineers and the management team, all of them focused on the next step. There was little time to rest, but for Elon, this was what he thrived on: innovation, progress, and the drive to push beyond the boundaries of what was thought possible. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Elon sat in his office, reviewing a proposal for the next phase of Tesla's expansion: building massive, global-scale energy storage networks. This was the next frontier, the part of the vision that would truly change the world. He picked up his phone and dialed a familiar number. It was Simmons. "Hey, Elon," Simmons greeted, his voice sounding upbeat despite the hectic pace of their lives. "What's on your mind?" "I'm thinking we need to scale up, and fast. This new energy storage system isn't just for homes and businesses, it's for entire cities. We need to put Tesla's infrastructure to the test and show the world what's possible when we think big," Elon replied, his voice full of determination. Simmons paused for a moment before answering. "You're talking about a global network of energy hubs, aren't you?" "That's exactly what I'm talking about," Elon said, his eyes lighting up as he imagined the possibilities. "Let's make clean energy not just a luxury for the wealthy, but something everyone can access. We need to be the ones who take this vision global, and I mean everywhere, from the US to Africa, Asia to Europe." Simmons let out a small chuckle. "You don't do things by halves, do you?" Elon smiled. "When you're changing the world, there's no such thing as too big." As plans for the global energy hubs took shape, Elon knew there would be obstacles ahead. The competition would be fierce, and there were likely to be political roadblocks, especially in regions where vested interests in fossil fuels held sway. But Elon had faced similar hurdles before. He was used to being the underdog, and he wasn't afraid to fight for what he believed in. Tesla's new mission was ambitious. The company would focus on providing clean, affordable energy solutions to developing nations that were still heavily reliant on coal and other polluting energy sources. If Tesla could succeed in these regions, it could not only help lift entire economies, but also show the world that renewable energy wasn't just a pipe dream. It was a viable, sustainable future. Elon's vision was gaining momentum. In just a few months, Tesla began negotiating partnerships with governments and corporations worldwide. The energy storage hubs were set to begin construction in several key countries, with the first major launch planned for an energy-poor nation in sub-Saharan Africa. The potential impact of these hubs was monumental, and the media couldn't get enough of it. Elon found himself in countless meetings with heads of state, energy ministers, and corporate leaders. They all wanted a piece of Tesla's revolution. And while some were enthusiastic, others were more cautious, wary of disrupting the established energy systems that had been in place for decades. But for Elon, there was no turning back. He knew that the world's reliance on fossil fuels couldn't continue. The climate crisis was growing worse, and the time for incremental change had passed. The only way forward was bold, radical action. Back in the United States, Elon was dealing with a new set of challenges. Tesla's competitors, seeing the success of the energy storage systems, were starting to invest heavily in renewable energy solutions of their own. Traditional automakers like General Motors and Ford were ramping up their electric vehicle production, while tech companies such as Google and Apple were pushing their own green energy initiatives. Elon knew that Tesla couldn't afford to rest on its laurels. The competition was fierce, and new players were entering the market every day. But instead of being intimidated, he saw it as an opportunity. Tesla's reputation as a pioneer had already set it apart, but now it was time to prove that no one could match its ability to innovate. He gathered his top engineers for a late-night brainstorming session. The team had been working nonstop for weeks, but Elon knew that the next big leap was just around the corner. "We need to think outside the box," Elon said, his voice sharp as he addressed the room. "Tesla isn't just a car company anymore, and it's not just about energy storage. We're creating a whole new ecosystem, a way of life that doesn't rely on fossil fuels." So, what comes next? The engineers exchanged glances, some looking exhausted but others visibly excited by the challenge. One of the senior engineers, Sarah, spoke up. "What if we start looking beyond just vehicles and energy? What if we focused on revolutionizing other industries too? Transportation, agriculture, even healthcare. There's so much more we can impact." Elon's eyes lit up. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We need to expand Tesla's impact into new sectors. We're not just changing the way people drive or how they power their homes. We're changing the way the world operates." The team was fired up. Elon could see the spark of innovation reignite in their eyes. It was time to break the boundaries once again. As Tesla prepared to launch its global energy hubs and expand into new industries, Elon's influence continued to grow. The media dubbed him a visionary, a term that had become both a compliment and a challenge. His name was now synonymous with the future, and everyone, from governments to CEOs, was watching his every move. Despite all the accolades and attention, Elon remained focused on one thing: the mission. He wasn't doing this for the fame, for the fortune, or for the admiration. He was doing it to create a world that was better, cleaner, and more sustainable. Every move Tesla made, every new product, every new project, was a step closer to that goal. But even as he achieved great things, Elon never stopped thinking about the next big challenge. In his mind, there was always something more to do, something more to fix. There was always a way to improve the world. As the year came to a close, Tesla's future looked brighter than ever. The energy hubs were well on their way to transforming the global energy landscape, and the company was preparing to tackle the next frontier. But as Elon Musk looked out at the horizon, he knew that the hardest part was yet to come. The world was changing, and Tesla was leading the charge. As the new year began, Tesla's global vision was no longer just a concept. It was becoming a reality. The plans for energy hubs in Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America were moving ahead at full speed. Elon's ambitious project to bring affordable, clean energy to underserved regions was gaining traction, and the world was watching with bated breath. But the road to success was far from smooth. For every country that embraced Tesla's vision, there were others that resisted. Governments that had long been tied to fossil fuel industries were hesitant to disrupt the status quo, while local businesses feared the shift in power dynamics that Tesla's new energy storage system could bring. It was late at night when Elon sat in his office, reviewing updates on Tesla's expansion plans. The buzz of the world's attention, while thrilling, had brought its own set of challenges. As he went over documents, he couldn't help but reflect on how far Tesla had come. From a niche electric car company to the leader in the renewable energy revolution, the company had defied every expectation. Elon, Simmons' voice came through the phone line, pulling him from his thoughts. We need to talk about some of the political pushback in Latin America. There's a lot of resistance from the fossil fuel industry. They're trying to block our progress. Elon exhaled, not surprised. This was the same kind of fight he had faced time and time again. Opposition from those who feared change. What's the strategy? Elon asked, his tone calm but firm. He had faced challenges much larger than this before. Simmons paused before responding. We're working through the local governments, but it's going to be tough. There are major players in the energy sector putting pressure on key political leaders. We may need to engage more directly with them. We can't afford to let this slow us down. Elon nodded. I want to meet with the governments directly. It's time to remind them why they're in power. The future of their countries is at stake. And Tesla isn't just offering technology. We're offering a way forward, a way to secure their country's energy independence and future prosperity. Elon's next stop was Latin America. He flew out to meet with leaders and officials in countries that had the potential to benefit greatly from Tesla's energy solutions. His goal was clear: convince them that embracing clean energy would not only benefit their economies but also position them as leaders on the global stage. It was a delicate balance. He had to convince these leaders that they were making the right decision, even when powerful, entrenched forces worked against them. During one of his meetings in Brazil, Elon faced a particularly tough crowd. Several high-ranking officials in the country's energy sector were skeptical, and it was clear they felt threatened by the prospect of Tesla's influence. Elon, you're asking us to shift away from a system that has worked for decades, one official said, his voice tinged with caution. We're talking about an entire industry built on fossil fuels. You expect us to make this switch overnight? Elon met his gaze, unflinching. I'm not asking you to do it overnight. But look at the future. Look at the trends. Fossil fuels are finite, and their impact on the environment is devastating. Your country has the potential to lead the world in clean energy. You have the resources, sun, wind, and a growing workforce eager to innovate. It's time to take that first step. The official hesitated, clearly conflicted. Elon knew he wasn't just making a pitch for Tesla's technology, he was making the case for the future of the country itself. If they didn't take action, they risked falling behind as the world moved toward a clean energy economy. After several hours of discussion, the official finally spoke. We'll need to do a lot of research and consult with our energy leaders. But I see your point. Let's start small, see what we can do, and go from there. Elon nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. That's all I'm asking for, a chance to show you what we can do. With the breakthrough in Brazil, Tesla gained a foothold in Latin America. Over the following months, the company expanded its energy storage systems into several other countries in the region, from Argentina to Colombia. These smaller, strategic partnerships were crucial stepping stones in Tesla's broader global expansion. But just as things were looking up, the competition was becoming fiercer. While Tesla had gained immense attention for its clean energy solutions, other major corporations were not far behind. In Europe, large energy conglomerates like Siemens and EDF were ramping up their own efforts to integrate renewable energy into their portfolios. These companies had the infrastructure and financial backing to challenge Tesla in the global market. Elon knew this was coming. The world's energy landscape was changing, and everyone wanted a piece of the pie. But Tesla's advantage lay in its commitment to technological innovation and its proven track record of delivering results. While others were still talking about change, Tesla was already making it happen. Back in the US, Elon turned his attention to the next major frontier: autonomous vehicles. Tesla had already made a name for itself in the electric vehicle market, but the next step was to develop a fully autonomous driving system that could revolutionize transportation. Sarah, Elon said as he met with his lead engineer, we need to take full advantage of the Tesla network and make self-driving cars the norm, not the exception. People need to trust that they can get into a Tesla and have it drive them anywhere, safely and efficiently. Sarah, who had been working on the autopilot system for years, nodded. We're close, Elon. The technology is there, but we need to continue refining it. It's all about safety and ensuring the system works under all circumstances. Elon's mind raced with possibilities. The integration of autonomous driving technology into Tesla's electric vehicles would not only redefine the car industry, it would also change the way people thought about transportation altogether. "We're going to show the world what's possible," Elon said, determination in his voice. "Tesla's going to change the way people live, the way they move, and the way they think about energy." Elon's vision for Tesla and for the future was becoming clearer than ever. As the company expanded into new markets and technologies, the challenges only grew, but Elon thrived in the chaos. The more obstacles he faced, the more determined he became to succeed. The world was watching, and as Tesla led the charge toward a future powered by clean energy, the ripple effect was undeniable. With each new country, each new product, and each new partnership, the impact grew stronger. Tesla was no longer just a company, it was a movement. The world was changing, and Elon Musk was at the helm, guiding Tesla into the future with unwavering resolve. As Tesla's global influence continued to grow, so did the stakes. The competition was fierce, and the political and economic pressures mounting on Elon and his team became more intense with each passing day. Every victory was met with new challenges, but Elon remained unyielding, focused on his mission to revolutionize the world through clean energy and innovative technology. Tesla's expansion into new markets was a turning point in the company's trajectory. As more countries and regions signed on to Tesla's vision for clean energy, the broader impact was undeniable. The energy hubs were thriving, and soon, other companies and governments began to take notice. Some viewed Tesla as a trailblazer, others as a threat. It was a quiet evening when Elon received an unexpected call from an old acquaintance, Philip Anderson, the CEO of a rival company in the renewable energy sector. "Elon, it's been a while," Philip said, his voice measured but friendly. "I've been watching Tesla's progress, and I have to admit, you've done something incredible. I never thought I'd see the day when you could revolutionize not just electric vehicles, but energy too." Elon raised an eyebrow. It wasn't often that his competitors reached out with praise. "Thanks, Philip. What's on your mind?" Philip hesitated before responding. "We've been working on some new energy solutions ourselves, and we're ready to take things to the next level. I'd like to discuss the possibility of a partnership between our companies. Together, we could accelerate the transition to renewable energy even faster than we've been able to on our own." Elon was intrigued. While he had always been a fierce competitor, he knew that sometimes partnerships could be more powerful than rivalry. If this was the right move, it could have an even bigger impact on the world. "I'm listening," Elon said, leaning back in his chair. The discussion with Philip was just the beginning of what would turn into a highly strategic move for Tesla. Elon carefully considered the offer, weighing the potential benefits of working with a rival company. The idea of combining resources, research, and technologies was appealing, especially if it meant accelerating the adoption of clean energy worldwide. Tesla had already made significant strides in the energy sector, but Philip's company had expertise in areas that Tesla had yet to explore. Together, they could potentially dominate the market. However, Elon wasn't about to rush into anything. He needed to ensure that the partnership aligned with Tesla's values and long-term vision. In the meantime, back at Tesla headquarters, the team was working tirelessly to refine the next wave of technology. The energy hubs in Latin America and Africa were performing well, but Elon was already looking ahead. He had set his sights on launching Tesla's next-generation solar panels, designed to be even more efficient and cheaper to produce. The goal was to create a solar solution that could be integrated into homes, businesses, and even entire cities, making renewable energy accessible to everyone. But even as progress was being made on that front, the pressure was mounting. With every successful launch, Tesla became a bigger target. There were whispers of competitors trying to reverse engineer Tesla's energy storage solutions, and rumors of shady political deals aimed at undermining Tesla's progress. One evening, as Elon was preparing for an important presentation about Tesla's future, his phone buzzed with a message from Simmons. "Elon, we've got a problem. A significant leak from within Tesla. Someone in our R&D department has been feeding information to our competitors. We don't know who yet, but we need to get ahead of this." Elon's heart sank. Betrayals within the company were not new, but they still cut deeply. Tesla had always prided itself on its culture of innovation and trust. Now, it seemed that someone within the organization was jeopardizing everything they had worked for. The next few days were a blur of investigations, internal meetings, and heightened security measures. Elon was determined to get to the bottom of it quickly, but his mind kept wandering back to the bigger picture. The rival company that had made the offer for a partnership wasn't the only one watching. Powerful forces, including those with deep ties to the fossil fuel industry, were likely pulling strings behind the scenes to prevent Tesla from succeeding. Elon found himself once again in the position of fighting not just for Tesla's survival, but for its very mission. In the midst of these challenges, the news broke that Tesla's energy storage systems had finally achieved a milestone that seemed impossible only a few years ago. The company's energy storage solutions were now capable of storing enough energy to power entire cities for days on end. It was a breakthrough that would change the game for the energy sector. The media quickly caught wind of it, and the stock market responded accordingly, pushing Tesla's value higher than ever before. The breakthrough was seen as a major win for the renewable energy movement, and the potential applications were endless. However, Elon knew that the real test had only just begun. Despite the positive news, Tesla was still facing significant resistance from powerful, entrenched industries. He had always known that change would not come easily, but now, it seemed like the world was at a tipping point. Elon found himself reflecting on the bigger question. How could Tesla not only survive but thrive in a world that seemed intent on resisting progress? The answer, as always, lay in innovation. Tesla's approach had always been to lead with groundbreaking technologies, and that would continue to be its strength. As the company prepared to unveil its next set of breakthroughs, solar panels, autonomous driving systems, and a fully integrated energy ecosystem, Elon knew that the competition would try to keep up, but Tesla was always going to be one step ahead. It was a high-stakes game. The global transition to renewable energy was picking up speed, and Tesla had positioned itself at the forefront. But as the industry heated up, so did the pressure. Every new success was met with new challenges, and the question of who would control the future of energy and transportation was still very much up in the air. Elon wasn't just playing a game of business. He was playing for the future of the planet. And while the journey had been hard, he knew that the next phase of the battle was going to be even more intense. But Elon Musk had never been one to back down from a challenge. He was built for this moment. Tesla's rise to global prominence was no longer a story of if, but when. The renewable energy movement was accelerating, and with Tesla's innovations leading the way, the world was beginning to take notice in a way it never had before. Elon Musk had truly proven that electric vehicles and clean energy weren't just futuristic ideals, they were the present. Yet, as Tesla soared, the challenges kept coming. For every success, there seemed to be a new mountain to climb. From fierce competition to governmental roadblocks, and now, internal betrayals, it was becoming clear that the fight for a sustainable future wasn't going to be easy. But Elon didn't just face challenges, he thrived in them. The more difficult the circumstances, the more relentless his drive became. Now, it was time for Tesla to face a true turning point. It all started with a single phone call. Elon was in a meeting when his phone buzzed with an incoming message from Siemens. "Elon, we have a serious problem," the message read. "The leak inside Tesla, it's bigger than we thought. Someone's been selling Tesla's proprietary tech to rival companies. I'm sending over the details right now." Elon's heart raced. Internal betrayal was always one of the toughest hurdles to overcome. He had trusted the team, believed in the culture of innovation they had built. But now, it seemed like someone had turned their back on that trust. He stepped out of the meeting and immediately opened the email from Siemens. The details were shocking. Tesla's most advanced battery technology, its breakthroughs in solar panels, even confidential data about the company's future autonomous driving features had been leaked. The leak wasn't just a small breach. It was a deliberate, calculated betrayal. Who could it be? Elon thought. Who had the audacity to jeopardize everything they had worked for? Elon gathered his team to investigate, and over the course of the next several days, they dug deep into the leak. It didn't take long to uncover the culprit. A senior engineer who had been with Tesla for years, a trusted individual who had played a critical role in the development of Tesla's most cutting-edge technologies. The revelation hit hard. The engineer had been passing information to a rival company in exchange for large sums of money. Tesla had never anticipated this level of betrayal, and it was clear that the stakes were higher than ever. The company's very future was at risk. "Elon, we need to act fast," Simmons said as the investigation concluded. "This could severely hurt our credibility if the wrong people find out." Elon stood by the window, staring out at the city skyline, deep in thought. It was moments like these that defined the course of an organization. Tesla had faced adversity before, but this was a different kind of battle, one that would require strength, resolve, and above all, leadership. "Eliminate the threat immediately," Elon ordered. "We need to handle this with precision, but we also need to send a message. This kind of behavior will not be tolerated. We have to protect our team, our technology, and most importantly, our mission." Despite the setback, Elon knew that the true challenge wasn't just about dealing with the leak. It was about maintaining Tesla's momentum in a rapidly changing world. The energy and automotive industries were in the midst of transformation, and the pressure to stay ahead was immense. Rivals were closing in, and they weren't just after Tesla's technology. They were after the very vision that Elon had spent years cultivating. But that vision was more powerful than any challenge that lay ahead. Elon's commitment to a sustainable future had driven every move he made, and it was what made Tesla unique. The world was watching, and every step they took mattered. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Tesla's legal team worked around the clock to handle the fallout from the leak, while Elon himself continued pushing the company forward. The global energy hubs were still expanding, and the company's solar technology was making waves. But it was the electric vehicle market that was about to experience its most significant shift yet. Tesla was preparing to unveil the next generation of autonomous vehicles, sleek, efficient, and equipped with a completely new suite of self-driving capabilities. Elon had always believed that autonomous driving was the key to revolutionizing transportation, and now it was time to deliver. The new system was capable of not only self-driving but also self-learning, meaning that the more it was used, the smarter it became. Tesla vehicles could navigate urban environments, handle complex traffic situations, and even predict potential hazards before they occurred. It was a monumental leap forward, and it was ready to disrupt the entire automotive industry. The launch event was scheduled for a massive press conference at Tesla's headquarters in California. The anticipation was palpable. News outlets from around the world had gathered to witness the next chapter in Tesla's evolution. As Elon walked onto the stage, the energy in the room was electric. This was the moment that could solidify Tesla's place as not just a leader in electric vehicles, but as the company that was changing the entire transportation ecosystem. He stepped up to the podium, his presence commanding the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, today is a pivotal moment in the history of Tesla," Elon began, his voice steady and full of conviction. "We've always believed that technology should not just be about innovation for the sake of innovation. It should be about making the world a better place. It should be about creating solutions to the most pressing problems we face. And today, we're proud to introduce a new era of transportation." With a wave of his hand, the screen behind him flickered to life, revealing the sleek, futuristic design of the new Tesla vehicle. The crowd gasped in awe as Elon continued. "This is our next-generation fully autonomous Tesla. This car will not only change the way you drive, it will change the way you live. With our self-learning system, every Tesla on the road will get smarter, safer, and more efficient over time. It's the future of transportation, and it starts today." The room erupted in applause as the new vehicle took center stage. Tesla had just unveiled a system that would define the next era of autonomous driving, and the world couldn't wait to get their hands on it. As the press conference came to an end and Elon walked off the stage, he felt a sense of pride that only moments like these could bring. Tesla had just turned another page in its journey, and this chapter was going to be a game changer. But even as he celebrated the success, Elon knew the road ahead would still be full of challenges. The industry was shifting faster than ever, and Tesla was right at the center of it all. Rivals were closing in, governments were adjusting regulations, and the pressure to continue innovating was immense. But one thing was clear: Tesla was not just a company. It was a force that was shaping the future. And Elon Musk was determined to lead that charge, no matter what. The exhilaration of the recent Tesla unveiling had barely settled when Elon's mind shifted back to the realities of the business world. While the world was applauding the next-gen autonomous vehicle, he knew better than anyone that the higher Tesla climbed, the harder it would be to maintain its place at the top. Every new success only brought bigger challenges and more intense competition. The solar panel technology was seeing rapid adoption, but the hurdles Tesla faced in key markets, especially in countries with strong ties to traditional energy industries, were not to be underestimated. And in Silicon Valley, new startups with massive financial backing were popping up, eager to replicate Tesla's successes. Each day seemed to bring new players vying for a piece of the market, and it was clear that Tesla's position was no longer as invulnerable as it once seemed. One of the most pressing concerns was the growing tension in the global political landscape. While Tesla's renewable energy initiatives were lauded in many parts of the world, there were still pockets of resistance, particularly in regions heavily dependent on fossil fuels. The fossil fuel lobby, powerful as ever, was using all its resources to slow down Tesla's progress. High-level meetings with energy ministers in Europe had turned hostile, as they began to feel threatened by the rapid rise of clean energy alternatives. Elon's inbox was filled with messages from government officials, lawyers, and even his own advisors, each outlining new barriers to Tesla's continued expansion. From tariffs on Tesla's products to new regulations intended to make it harder for alternative energy solutions to compete, it felt as though the momentum Tesla had worked so hard to build was in danger of stalling. One particular afternoon, as Elon sat in his office at Tesla HQ, he received a call that would set the course for the next phase of his journey. It was Sarah, the head of Tesla's legal department. "Elon, we've just received a summons from the EU," she said, her voice strained with concern. "They're accusing us of anti-competitive behavior, claiming that Tesla is using its dominant position in the market to push out local competitors. This is huge. They want to bring us to court." Elon leaned back in his chair, his fingers pressing against his temple. Legal battles were nothing new to him, but this was different. The European Union was a major market for Tesla's energy solutions, and the last thing they needed was a prolonged legal fight that could damage the company's reputation and stall expansion efforts. "I need to get ahead of this," Elon said, his tone firm. "We can't afford to be distracted by a court case. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. But let's do it on our terms." The next several weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Tesla's legal team went into overdrive, preparing to fight the accusations that had been leveled against the company. Elon knew that the key to winning was to turn the situation to Tesla's advantage, by showing that their dominance in the market wasn't about suppressing competition, but about pushing the entire industry forward. In the meantime, the political resistance was becoming more vocal. There were protests outside Tesla's factories in Europe, fueled by those who saw the shift to renewable energy as a threat to jobs in traditional energy sectors. It was a backlash that Elon had anticipated, but that didn't make it any easier to navigate. One evening, after a particularly grueling meeting with his legal team, Elon took a rare break to go for a walk. The air outside felt crisp, and the quiet of the evening provided a much-needed moment of reflection. It was then that he realized the resistance wasn't just coming from politicians or rival companies. It was coming from society at large, the people who had been entrenched in old ways of thinking. The fossil fuel industry had spent decades creating systems that benefited them. Shifting those systems would take more than just technology. It would take a cultural shift. That was the challenge he had to face head-on. Tesla wasn't just fighting to win a market share. It was fighting to change the very way people thought about energy and the future. As Elon pondered the larger battle, a breakthrough came in the form of a call from a prominent European leader, Maria Caruso, the Secretary General of the European Energy Commission. "Elon," Maria began, her voice sounding somewhat more conciliatory than it had in previous conversations. "I know we've had our differences, but I'm reaching out because we need to talk." Elon raised an eyebrow. Maria had always been a staunch advocate for traditional energy, making her a tough opponent for Tesla in Europe. "I'm listening," Elon said, not wanting to appear overly optimistic, but hoping for the breakthrough Tesla needed. Maria continued, "We can't deny the progress Tesla's made, and I think we both know that the future lies in clean energy. But we also have to balance that with the needs of our workers. Our economy relies on industries that are not going to disappear overnight. I want to explore a way forward that includes both clean energy innovation and a transition plan that doesn't leave people behind. Elon nodded. This was a shift in tone. A welcome one. I'm open to discussions, Maria. The transition to clean energy doesn't need to come at the expense of people's livelihoods. We've always believed in creating a better future for everyone, and I think we can find a way to do that together. The conversation marked the beginning of a new chapter in Tesla's struggle. Elon and his team worked closely with European leaders to develop a transition plan, a roadmap to integrate clean energy solutions without disrupting local economies. The plan included retraining programs for workers in traditional energy sectors, funding for new green energy initiatives, and incentives for companies to adopt renewable technologies. It wasn't an easy road, but it was the right one. Meanwhile, back in the United States, Tesla's next major project was nearing completion, the world's largest battery storage facility. The plant, located in Nevada, would be able to store enough energy to power hundreds of thousands of homes, all sourced from renewable energy. If successful, it would be a game-changer for both Tesla and the entire energy industry. But with the growing competition, Elon knew that every move had to be calculated. Rivals were watching closely, and the fossil fuel industry was not about to roll over. The question wasn't whether Tesla could lead. It was whether it could keep its lead against forces both within and outside the company. The pressure on Elon was immense, but he knew one thing. No matter how difficult the journey, Tesla was on the right side of history, and no amount of opposition would stop him from fulfilling the vision of a cleaner, more sustainable future. Tesla was no longer just a company. It was the embodiment of a movement, one that was bigger than any one person or organization. And as long as Elon was at the helm, it would continue to push forward, no matter the cost. Tesla's continued expansion into global markets came at a cost, one that Elon Musk was beginning to feel more acutely. With the political and economic challenges mounting, both domestically and abroad, it was becoming increasingly clear that the real fight was no longer just about technology or innovation. It was about survival. The competition in the renewable energy sector was fierce, and it wasn't just coming from the automotive world anymore. Major oil and gas companies were beginning to pour vast sums of money into renewable energy research, hoping to maintain their dominance in a world that was moving towards sustainability. Tesla was facing a new wave of opposition, one that threatened to derail everything they had worked for. One morning, Elon was sitting in his office, staring at a new set of reports from Tesla's global strategy team. The company's energy division had experienced exponential growth in markets like Europe and Latin America, but new regulatory hurdles were popping up everywhere. Each country Tesla entered seemed to have a different set of rules, with many of them trying to protect local energy companies from being overtaken by Tesla's advances. Meanwhile, the energy giants were beginning to exert more influence, lobbying governments and creating roadblocks that could significantly slow Tesla's progress. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the shifting public perception. In recent months, a coordinated smear campaign against Tesla had started to take shape. Media outlets, particularly those backed by traditional energy interests, began to run negative stories about the company's environmental impact, its labor practices, and even the safety of its vehicles. The rumors about Tesla were taking hold in certain circles, and Elon could sense the pressure building. He knew this was the kind of battle he had been preparing for, but it wasn't one he could fight alone. Tesla's reputation, its mission, and its future were on the line. It was time to make a bold move, one that would not only push Tesla into the next phase of growth, but also send a message to the world that Tesla wasn't backing down. Elon called an emergency meeting with his senior leadership team. "We need to push back, and we need to push back hard," Elon began, his voice steady but filled with resolve. Tesla is not just a company anymore. It's a movement, and movements don't shrink from adversity. They grow stronger in the face of it. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what Elon was about to suggest. "We're going to accelerate the rollout of our solar and energy storage solutions. We're going to take the fight to the fossil fuel giants, and we're going to show the world that Tesla is the future of energy. We're going to create the largest, most ambitious energy grid in the world." There was a collective intake of breath. The vision was bold, perhaps even reckless, But it was also precisely the kind of audacious move that had defined Tesla's success. We'll need to work with governments, NGOs, and other companies to make this happen. But the key is this. We need to make it clear that the transition to renewable energy is not optional. It's not a distant dream. It's happening now, and Tesla is leading the way. For weeks, the leadership team worked tirelessly on the plan, drawing up blueprints for an energy grid that would span entire continents. The idea was to build an interconnected network of solar-powered plants, battery storage facilities, and smart grids that could provide clean energy to millions of homes and businesses across the world. Tesla's cutting-edge technology would be at the heart of the system, powering everything from electric vehicles to entire cities. But the task wasn't easy. The logistics were complex, the political landscape was treacherous, and the resources required to build such an ambitious network were staggering. Elon knew that if they pulled this off, it would be the defining achievement of Tesla's mission. But the risks were high. If Tesla failed to execute, the company could be financially crippled, and the entire clean energy movement could suffer a massive setback. As the plans began to take shape, so did the opposition. Elon received a call late one night from Sarah, Tesla's legal advisor. Elon, we have a serious problem. The fossil fuel lobby is ramping up their efforts. They've started pulling strings in Washington, and there's talk of introducing new regulations that could cripple Tesla's ability to scale. They're targeting our energy storage solutions, saying they're unproven and unsafe. Elon's grip tightened around his phone. The battle was no longer just about technology, it was about politics, too. I'm not backing down, he said, his voice sharp with determination. We're going to outpace them. We're going to show the world that their arguments are outdated. Our technology is safe, and it works. Sarah hesitated for a moment before responding. Elon, there's something else. The media campaigns are getting more aggressive. They're targeting you personally. Some of the stories they're running are completely fabricated, and it's starting to damage your public image. Elon sat silently for a moment. This wasn't the first time he'd been the target of personal attacks, but this felt different. The smear campaign was relentless, and it was clear that someone with deep pockets was behind it. They're trying to tear us down from the inside, Elon said, his voice cold with resolve. But they won't succeed. We've built Tesla on the foundation of innovation and progress. We're not going to let them stop us now. The media attacks escalated in the following weeks, but Elon remained undeterred. He took to social media, tweeting and engaging directly with the public to set the record straight. But it wasn't just about fighting misinformation. It was about demonstrating Tesla's commitment to transparency and integrity. Tesla also began to invest in new public relations campaigns that showcased the real impact of their work. They released case studies of successful solar installations and energy storage projects, highlighting how their technology was already transforming communities around the world. The goal was simple: show the world that Tesla wasn't just a car company, it was an energy revolution. Then came the game changer. Tesla's new solar roof technology was unveiled. A breakthrough in solar panel efficiency and aesthetic design. The solar roof would integrate seamlessly into homes, providing an affordable and efficient solution for homeowners who wanted to power their lives with clean energy. The announcement was met with overwhelming praise from both environmentalists and tech enthusiasts. But it also ignited the fiercest backlash from Tesla's rivals, who saw the solar roof as a direct threat to their market share. The fossil fuel industry was particularly vocal in its criticism, claiming that the solar roof was untested and unsafe. Elon knew the stakes had just risen exponentially. Tesla was no longer just a leader in the electric vehicle market. It was now squarely in the crosshairs of an industry that had built its fortune on a dying energy paradigm. Despite the increased pressure, Elon and Tesla forged ahead with their plans. They worked tirelessly to expand the solar grid and energy storage infrastructure, making significant strides in regions that had previously been resistant to clean energy solutions. The message was clear. Tesla was not just changing the future, it was defining it. But even as Tesla moved forward, the political, legal, and media battles raged on. Elon had never faced opposition this fierce, but he was determined to see his vision through. The road ahead would be tough, but one thing was certain: Tesla was playing for the future, and Elon Musk wasn't about to let anyone stop it. Tesla's battle was far from over. In fact, as the days went by, it was becoming clear that the road to reshaping the energy landscape was filled with more obstacles than even Elon Musk had anticipated. The media campaign against Tesla was relentless. The political resistance continued to mount, and the company's rivals were ramping up their efforts to push back against the clean energy revolution. But Elon wasn't a man who backed down. The bigger the challenge, the more determined he became to confront it head-on. It was the very spirit that had driven him to create Tesla, SpaceX, and all the other ventures that had revolutionized entire industries. Now, the question wasn't whether Tesla would survive. It was whether it could keep leading the charge in the face of growing adversity. One cold morning, Elon sat in his office, staring at the latest reports. His legal team had informed him that the European Union was about to move forward with even stricter regulations on renewable energy storage, specifically targeting Tesla's battery technology. The U.S. government, too, had been making moves to put new tariffs on imported solar panels and storage devices, a clear attempt to stifle Tesla's international expansion. "Elon, we have to prepare for a worst-case scenario," Sarah said, her voice echoing through the phone line. "If these regulations go through, it could put a serious strain on our global operations. It's not just about one market anymore, it's global." Elon leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. The sheer scale of what Tesla was up against was overwhelming. From the EU's aggressive energy policies to the well-funded fossil fuel lobby pulling strings in Washington, the battle lines were becoming clearer every day. "We'll pivot," Elon said after a pause, his voice resolute. "Tesla will adapt. We have to be faster and smarter than the opposition. I know the regulations will make things tougher, but we'll find a way through it." In the midst of the regulatory storm, the media's attacks on Elon reached a fever pitch. There were more and more reports on Tesla's working conditions, exaggerated stories about accidents at Tesla factories, and critiques of Elon's leadership style. Each headline seemed designed to chip away at Tesla's reputation, trying to shift public opinion against the company. It didn't help that the media frenzy had reached a boiling point. As always, Elon was at the center of the storm. His outspoken personality, combined with his status as one of the most controversial tech moguls in the world, made him an easy target for the press. But instead of backing down, Elon took the fight directly to the media. One evening, he hopped on a Twitter thread, launching a series of posts that went viral almost immediately. "The truth is, the media has been misrepresenting Tesla for years," he tweeted. "They're more interested in sensationalism than facts. But we won't be silenced. Tesla is here to stay, and we will continue to lead the fight for a sustainable future." The reaction was immediate and intense. Supporters rallied behind him, sharing the message with the hashtag #DefendTesla. But the media backlash also intensified, with some outlets accusing Elon of trying to distract from real issues within the company. Elon knew the fight wasn't just with the press. It was with the old guard who wanted to maintain the status quo. Amid the media war, Tesla's technological advancements continued. Elon was more focused than ever on pushing the company's clean energy mission forward. The new solar roofs were starting to gain traction, and Tesla's battery storage system was being deployed in new regions around the world. However, as much as he wanted to celebrate these achievements, he couldn't ignore the growing pressure from all sides. One day, Elon took a private meeting with a group of Tesla's senior engineers. He wanted their input on how to innovate faster, how to outpace not only their competitors but the political and regulatory obstacles that were blocking their path. "We can't afford to be bogged down by these external pressures," Elon said. "We need to think outside the box. How do we get around these regulations, or even better, how do we make them obsolete? I want solutions, not excuses." The room was quiet as the team exchanged glances. Finally, one of Tesla's lead engineers, Anna, spoke up. "Elon, there's a way we can push the boundaries. We could accelerate the development of a fully decentralized energy grid using blockchain technology to allow consumers to trade energy. If we can make energy production truly decentralized, we'll sidestep a lot of the regulatory red tape. We could even make it easier for people in remote areas to get access to affordable solar power." Elon's eyes lit up. This was the kind of innovative thinking he was looking for. "Tell me more," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. Anna and her team outlined a plan to leverage blockchain technology to create a global network of energy producers and consumers. By decentralizing the energy market, Tesla could bypass traditional utility companies and government-run grids, giving people the power to trade energy directly with each other. This was a bold idea, one that could not only change the energy landscape but also fundamentally challenge the entire structure of the global energy market. If Tesla could pull it off, it would be a game-changer. As Tesla's engineering team worked on the new decentralized energy platform, the political and media pressure didn't relent. The fossil fuel lobby was doing everything it could to undermine Tesla's efforts, including pushing for stricter regulations on electric vehicle incentives and renewable energy tax credits. Elon knew that if Tesla didn't do something dramatic, they might be cornered into retreating, unable to continue at the pace they were moving. That was when he decided to make his most daring move yet. Tesla announced it would open source its electric vehicle patents. Elon Musk had always been a controversial figure when it came to business decisions, but this one was a true game changer. The idea behind open sourcing Tesla's technology was simple. By sharing Tesla's patents with the world, the company could help accelerate the shift toward electric vehicles and sustainable energy, while also eliminating the competition from car manufacturers who were dragging their feet in the transition to cleaner alternatives. The announcement sent shockwaves through the industry. "It's not just about Tesla," Elon said in a public statement. "It's about the planet. The sooner we all make the transition to sustainable energy, the better off we'll be. We're opening up our patents so that anyone can build electric vehicles and make the world a cleaner, safer place." This bold move was met with a mixture of admiration and skepticism. Rivals who had once seen Tesla as a competitor now had access to its intellectual property, which meant they could now enter the electric vehicle market at a faster pace. However, the bigger picture was clear. Elon Musk wasn't just trying to beat his competitors, he was trying to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Elon's move left the entire industry reeling, but it also shifted the balance. The pressure on Tesla was immense, but the company was now in a position to lead the charge in an even more impactful way. Tesla's innovative spirit and willingness to face adversity head-on were more evident than ever before. The battle lines had been drawn, and Tesla, led by Elon Musk, was ready to fight for the future, no matter what it took. Elon Musk had always believed that innovation was the key to overcoming any obstacle, but the political and media attacks Tesla was facing were proving to be more formidable than he had anticipated. The pressure was mounting, and every day seemed to bring a new challenge. However, in the midst of the chaos, Elon realized that he needed more than just technology to win this fight. He needed allies, unexpected ones who could help carry the weight of this global transition toward renewable energy. It wasn't just about Tesla anymore. It was about an entire movement that had the potential to reshape the world. One afternoon, Elon was meeting with Sarah in his office. They had just finished reviewing the latest developments on the international front. Tesla's new decentralized energy grid system was beginning to show promise, but the hurdles were multiplying. In Europe, the EU's regulatory body had introduced new tariffs on imported solar products, which would undoubtedly affect Tesla's solar roof expansion. Meanwhile, in the US, lobbyists from the fossil fuel industry were ramping up their influence, pushing lawmakers to impose new taxes on renewable energy projects. "We're running out of time," Sarah said, her brow furrowed in concern. "If we don't find a way to navigate these challenges, we could lose momentum, and the energy revolution we've started might falter." Elon's mind was already racing, considering his options. He wasn't the kind of person who waited for things to happen. He made them happen. He knew he had to act swiftly and decisively, but this time, his plan wasn't just about Tesla. It had to involve more players if they were going to create the kind of global change needed. The following evening, Elon attended a private dinner with a group of influential figures in the tech and energy sectors. Among the attendees were several billionaires, innovators, and leaders in renewable energy, including leaders from some of Tesla's largest competitors. While it was unorthodox to gather with competitors, Elon knew that this was an opportunity to forge new alliances that could help drive his vision forward. As the evening unfolded, Elon began to address the elephant in the room: the growing pressure on renewable energy companies, especially Tesla. He was upfront about the challenges they were facing, from regulatory barriers to the increasing smear campaigns. "We're all in this together," Elon said, his voice calm but authoritative. The fossil fuel industry has been running this game for over a century, and they're not going to go down without a fight. But we have something they don't. We have the future on our side. Together, we can change the world. But we have to work together. To Elon's surprise, the response was overwhelmingly positive. People who had once seen Tesla as a competitor now recognized that their individual efforts weren't enough to change the global energy system. It was going to take a collective effort. One of the most unexpected moments came when Thomas Reynolds, the CEO of a rival solar company, stood up and spoke. He was one of the people Elon had always considered to be Tesla's biggest competition. "We've been so focused on being the best in the market," Thomas said, "that we've overlooked the bigger picture. If we're not careful, the entire renewable energy sector could be stifled by political pressure. It's time we all put our egos aside and work together to push back." The table was silent for a moment, and then other voices began chiming in, agreeing with Thomas. Elon smiled, knowing that this was the turning point he'd been waiting for. It wasn't just about Tesla anymore. It was about a unified movement to bring renewable energy to the forefront of the global economy. Over the next several weeks, Elon and his newly formed coalition of energy leaders began meeting in secret to discuss a new strategy, a global alliance to combat the fossil fuel lobby and accelerate the adoption of clean energy solutions. One of the most ambitious ideas was to create an open-source platform for renewable energy technology. Much like Tesla's decision to share its electric vehicle patents, the coalition wanted to make its renewable energy designs and technology available to everyone. The goal was to create a movement that would make it nearly impossible for the traditional energy sector to keep up. If the world's major energy companies were forced to share their technologies and innovations with each other, there would be no competition left. It would become a race to see who could implement clean energy solutions the fastest. In addition, the group began lobbying governments around the world to increase their incentives for renewable energy projects, while also working to combat the regulatory hurdles that had been erected by the fossil fuel industry. It wasn't just about building energy infrastructure, it was about changing the entire system. While this new alliance was gaining momentum, the media continued to turn up the heat. Negative headlines about Tesla's working conditions, Elon's personal life, and the company's financial stability were everywhere. The public perception of Tesla had become so clouded with misinformation that even some of Tesla's most loyal customers were beginning to doubt its future. But Elon wasn't deterred. He knew the only way to fight back against the media was through transparency and action. One day, he took to Twitter once again, but this time, his message was clear and concise. He posted a photo of himself at Tesla's Fremont factory, surrounded by a team of engineers who were working tirelessly on new projects. "This is Tesla. This is the future. We don't get distracted by negativity. We just keep building." The tweet went viral, and the response from the public was overwhelmingly supportive. People from around the world rallied behind Elon, showing their support for Tesla's mission. The hashtag Keep Building began trending, a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. In the midst of all this, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. One of Tesla's competitors, an established automaker that had previously been critical of Elon's methods, announced that it would be joining the Renewable Energy Alliance. This major announcement sent shockwaves through the industry, and it was clear that the tide was beginning to turn. The movement was gaining real traction, and the fossil fuel lobby had begun to feel the pressure. For Elon, it was a validation of everything he had believed in. The fight wasn't just about technology, it was about changing the world, and the world was starting to listen. With his newfound allies and the growing support of the public, Elon was more determined than ever to continue pushing forward. The road ahead would still be full of challenges, but for the first time in a long time, Elon could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Together, Tesla, its allies, and the growing global movement for clean energy had the power to change the future. And Elon Musk wasn't going to let anything stand in their way. As Elon Musk continued to build a coalition of innovators, policymakers, and global leaders, the battle to reshape the energy sector entered its final, most intense phase. The political pressure had never been greater, and the media storm surrounding Tesla and its ambitious plans for the future was reaching a fever pitch. Yet, despite the relentless attacks, Elon remained more resolute than ever. The world was watching. Tesla's success or failure would determine the future of renewable energy. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The media frenzy surrounding Tesla had shifted from whispers to full-blown assaults. Every aspect of Elon's life seemed to be under a microscope. There were questions about Tesla's profitability, rumors about layoffs, and even new reports alleging that Tesla's self-driving cars were more dangerous than initially reported. The smear campaign was relentless, and Elon knew that the media would stop at nothing to make Tesla appear weak. But he wasn't going to let the negative press derail his mission. He had something far more powerful on his side: truth and innovation. One afternoon, as he sat at his desk surrounded by reports and data, he received a call from Sarah. "Elon," she said, her voice filled with urgency, "the regulators are closing in. They've got new legislation ready to pass that could directly target Tesla's clean energy projects. If this goes through, it will set us back years." Elon's heart sank. He'd known this moment would come, but the reality of it still hit him hard. "How much time do we have?" he asked, his voice calm but focused. "Not much," Sarah replied. "The vote is scheduled for next week." Elon leaned back in his chair, a sense of determination washing over him. This was the moment he had been preparing for. This wasn't just about defending Tesla. It was about defending the entire movement for a sustainable future. In the days that followed, Elon doubled down on his efforts. He knew that the only way to stop the regulatory onslaught was to build public support, force politicians to choose between siding with the fossil fuel industry or with the clean energy revolution. He called an emergency meeting with his newly formed alliance of renewable energy leaders. The strategy was simple: create a global coalition of companies, governments, and citizens united by the same goal: accelerating the transition to renewable energy. They would push for bold new policies, rally public support, and make it clear to politicians that opposing clean energy was no longer an option. "We have one chance to make our case," Elon said, addressing the group. "We need to make the people understand what's at stake. It's not just about Tesla. It's about the future of the planet. If we don't act now, we will be living with the consequences of inaction for generations." The room was filled with determination. For the first time, the renewable energy sector wasn't just competing against each other. They were united in their mission. Elon knew this was the turning point. The global push for clean energy reached a boiling point. Protests erupted in cities across the world, with millions of people taking to the streets to demand action on climate change. In Washington, D.C., activists flooded the Capitol, calling on lawmakers to support Tesla and other companies leading the way in sustainable energy. The pressure on politicians was mounting, and the fossil fuel lobby was beginning to feel the heat. Meanwhile, Tesla continued to innovate. The company's latest advancements in solar and battery technology were nothing short of groundbreaking. Elon's plan for a decentralized global energy grid was becoming more feasible by the day, and Tesla's new initiatives in electric vehicle manufacturing were gaining widespread attention. But despite all the progress, Elon knew the real battle would be fought in the halls of government. The day of the vote arrived. The tension in the air was palpable as Elon stood at the front of a massive rally in Washington, D.C., surrounded by members of his alliance. Protesters packed the streets, their chants ringing out in support of clean energy. Elon felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a vote on Tesla's future. It was a vote on the future of the planet. He stepped up to the microphone, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "This is not just about technology," Elon said, addressing the crowd. "This is about the future of humanity. We are at a crossroads, and the decision we make today will determine whether future generations inherit a world that is sustainable or one ravaged by climate change." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices a unified call for action. It was clear that the movement Elon had started had grown far beyond his own company. It was a global revolution for the future of the planet. As the vote began in the Senate, Elon and his allies waited anxiously. The opposition was fierce, with the fossil fuel lobby pulling out all the stops to sway lawmakers. But the tide had turned. The public support for clean energy was overwhelming, and the senators who had once sided with the oil and gas industry were feeling the pressure. The final vote was close, but in the end, it was a victory for the renewable energy movement. The legislation that would have crippled Tesla's operations was defeated, and new policies were passed to accelerate the transition to clean energy. Elon felt a wave of relief wash over him as the news broke. It was a monumental victory, not just for Tesla, but for the entire world. The battle had been long and hard, but they had won. But the victory didn't mean the fight was over. Elon knew that the real work was just beginning. With the legislative victory secured, Tesla and its allies now had the opportunity to accelerate their mission at an unprecedented pace. The global push for renewable energy had reached a tipping point. Governments, businesses, and citizens were now united in their commitment to a sustainable future. The fossil fuel industry, though still powerful, was beginning to lose its grip. Elon stood at the helm of this revolution, his vision clearer than ever. Tesla wasn't just a company. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it dared to think differently, to challenge the status quo, and to fight for a better future. The world was changing, and Elon Musk was leading the charge. The victory in Washington was more than just a political triumph. It was a defining moment in the history of the clean energy movement. Elon Musk, once a lone visionary, had led the charge to not only secure the future of Tesla, but to ignite a global revolution in energy. The defeat of the fossil fuel lobby was monumental, but Elon knew this was only the beginning. There was still much work to do, and the challenges ahead were enormous. The days following the legislative victory were filled with a mix of celebrations and strategic planning. Tesla's stock soared, and public opinion was more favorable than it had ever been. Yet, in the back of Elon's mind, he knew the global shift towards renewable energy would be a slow and often difficult process. Governments, industries, and even consumers had to be convinced that this transition wasn't just a fleeting trend. It was the future. Elon spent countless hours with his team, meeting with global leaders, policymakers, and environmental advocates to push forward Tesla's mission. The goal wasn't just to sell electric cars and solar panels. It was to change the entire infrastructure of energy production, storage, and consumption. The decentralized energy grid idea was moving forward faster than anyone had expected. Tesla's work on creating a global network that allowed individuals, communities, and businesses to trade energy was beginning to take shape. It wasn't just about building more solar panels or electric cars. It was about creating a new paradigm for how the world produced and consumed energy. But the road to a sustainable future was never going to be easy. The fossil fuel industry, though wounded, was far from defeated. In the months after the legislative victory, oil and gas companies doubled down on their efforts to retain their power. They fought back with every tool at their disposal, using lobbying, media campaigns, and even legal battles to slow down the momentum of the clean energy movement. Elon, however, was undeterred. He knew that time was on Tesla's side. Every day, the costs of renewable energy were coming down, and the technology was improving. Solar roofs, energy storage, and electric vehicles were becoming more affordable, and consumers were beginning to see the benefits of making the switch. In every challenge, Elon saw an opportunity. The more the fossil fuel industry fought to protect its profits, the more Tesla and its allies were able to push forward, offering a cleaner, more sustainable alternative. One afternoon, as Elon was sitting in his office at Tesla's headquarters, Sarah came in with an update. "Elon, we've just received an offer from a group of investors who want to fund a massive expansion of our solar energy initiatives. They're offering us more capital than we've ever seen before," Sarah said, holding up the proposal. Elon took a moment to process the news. Tesla had always been focused on growth, but this kind of funding could fast-track their efforts on a global scale. It would allow Tesla to expand its solar technology into markets that were previously out of reach. It was the kind of investment that could change everything. "Let's do it," Elon said, his voice steady. "This is the moment we need to take the next step." With the new funding, Tesla expanded its operations into more countries, making solar technology available in remote regions and underserved areas. Communities in Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America, where electricity grids were unreliable or non-existent, now had access to affordable, renewable energy. Tesla's decentralized energy grid allowed these communities to harness solar power, store it, and even trade it with one another. For Elon, this was the real success, the ability to empower people who had been excluded from the modern energy infrastructure. The goal had always been to create a world where everyone, no matter their location or income level, had access to clean, affordable energy. In the years that followed, the world began to change in ways that were once thought impossible. Tesla's innovations had sparked a global transformation in the energy sector. Electric vehicles became the norm, and the once ubiquitous gas stations were gradually replaced by charging stations powered by renewable energy. Cities that once relied heavily on coal and natural gas were now transitioning to solar and wind power. Countries that had resisted renewable energy were now embracing it as the future of their economies. Even traditional energy companies, once Tesla's fiercest opponents, began investing heavily in clean energy projects, recognizing that the world was no longer going to wait for them to catch up. Elon stood on a stage at a global summit, surrounded by leaders from every corner of the world. The atmosphere was electric, a sense of unity in the air that had never existed before. For the first time in history, people from all industries and backgrounds were gathered to discuss the future of the planet, one that was powered by renewable energy. "We've come a long way," Elon said, addressing the crowd, "but we're just getting started." This movement is not just about Tesla. It's about every individual, every community, every nation coming together to protect our planet for future generations. The transition to renewable energy is no longer optional. It's essential. As he spoke, he couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. From the early days of Tesla's electric car prototypes to the days when he was mocked for his bold visions, the world had shifted in ways that had once seemed unimaginable. In the years to come, Tesla became more than just a company. It became a symbol of what was possible when people dared to dream big and refused to accept the status quo. The world was not only transitioning to sustainable energy, it was creating a new future. A future powered by innovation, collaboration, and a shared commitment to the planet. As Elon Musk looked out over the crowd at the summit, he realized that the battle had been won. The energy revolution was no longer a dream. It was a reality. And for the first time in a long while, he allowed himself a moment of peace. The work was far from over, but the world had finally turned the corner. A new dawn had arrived. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?